YouTube, Brad Phillips. We're gonna unbox this right now, start to finish, the Kobuz 2200 millimeter. Okay, we're starting right now. We got a battery taped to the outside of it, which is like one of the weirdest things we've seen in a while. Not sure if you guys are seeing that in the unbox or not, but it definitely made it a little weird to cut open. So, oh, and if you're curious what battery came with it, 4000 4S Turnigy. Seems pretty standard, run-of-the-mill XT60. And of course the bounce lead like we've seen the Hextronic style. Let's start charging that right now before we get too excited. We have a couple other batteries started. 3200 4S smart packs and then 4000 4S smart packs as well. We'll see how they stand up depending on what we need. Okay, so battery came at 3.85 and we have a little EC3 adapter. In this case goes into the IC3, and we'll plug that in. We'll press this play. Looks like our last battery we charged is 6.8. So we're gonna scroll this down to just charge at 1C, or also known as 4 amps, and then we'll hit start. Okay, now that's a smart charger, but this would not be a smart battery, so don't have to have a smart charger for it, but should work fine. Okay, without further ado, we're gonna keep unboxing. Should be well packed. We haven't had a lot of problems from any of the manufacturers we work with the exception of a couple of random one-offs.
Yeah.
Let's see how this comes out. Okay, this is from Avios. Okay, so Avios, also known as Hobby King. In this case, it's one of their house brands. Kobuz. Is that what it is?
I think
Kobuz?
that's close.
Like the caboose of a train?
No, I think it's more like bus than booze, but I'm not sure. I'm not positive.
Kobuz?
I'm not Polish or Swedish or whatever it is.
Okay, so I'm not either. Camera crew, help me. Pick up that end for me, please. It's gonna be one of these planes. Okay, good.
There we go.
All right, so now that we have it out of the box, hopefully that's the hardest part. You can see it's one of these top foams. And it looks like the retail pack is up here. Looks really nice.
Cool.
Beautiful. Ooh, inboard flaps, outboard ailerons, huge rudder, elevator, folding prop. Looks pretty good. 87 inches or 2200 millimeters. Propeller is 11.8 folding, 35 by 48, 750 kV outrunner brushless motor, and Aerostar 50 amp brushless speed controller. Looks like 4S, 40 through 60C, which is ironic because I think the one they sent was like a 50. So that makes sense. Servos, 4 13-gram Metal Gear servos, and then 2 9-gram Metal Gear servos for flaps. Nice, all Metal Gear. Very good, flying weight 2100. We'll see how that works because these things, you know, the weight can be deceiving. We've had some really heavy sailplanes that have been really big, but they are good flying. And we've had some really light planes that have been moderately bad flying. Just depends on how they go together. And it depends on the application. So in our case, we're not gonna be slope soaring here. I wish I was. I love slope soaring. It's one of my favorite things to do in RC. But basically it's illegal to do it most places around here because the places where we can slope soar are on dams and they're controlled by the Army Corps of Engineers. And so because of the drone zones, no drone zones and all this stuff, you basically can't fly there.
Yep.
So it turns into this big cluster where you just basically can't find a good place if you're inland to fly. Because most of the great places to slope soar have a water source like our pond, except much, much, much bigger, and a dam. And the dam makes a great place to slope soar. I found one other place we could do it, but it's just a long drive.
Yeah.
So we don't do it very often. Okay, so tops off. I'm hopeful this will be a pretty easy build. So we're gonna go through the entire unbox build radio setup like we've been doing for years. And been very impressed with the setup on the models from Avios lately. These quick start guides are nice. They do show the deflection. I kind of like that they show that. That's cool. But I don't set anything there. And then they have the center of gravity at 55 to 60 millimeters from the leading edge. And we already went over kind of the spec sheet. I don't think this is gonna be a hard one to build, but I gotta say, this is a big model and it's in a small package, okay? So that's pretty good. If you're gonna take this thing apart and put it away, we'll just see how hard it is to take apart. Some of you are limited to space or limited on the space you have with which to store your models. We are hoping to not have that problem in just a few short months or a few weeks, depending on how you look at it, depending on how Mother Nature treats us. We've been getting a lot of rain, so it's kind of got everything on hold on the building while we wait for things to dry out. Okay, so we pull that out. Beautiful carbon fiber wing joiner, cool. Almost certainly for the wing tube. Ooh, it's light, feel it.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That's amazing.
Okay, okay, thank you. Definitely carbon fiber. It's got that beautiful, get up close. Look at that, I love that pattern, it's so neat. Not very shiny, but I like that because it's like
yeah, it's cool.
Dull. Okay, so we got that. And then of course we have the horizontal stabilizer and elevator. Oh, I thought maybe it's gonna be weak, but it's actually got a little bit of strength to it, guys. I don't mind if it's soft, as long as it's got the strength in the middle of it, and that has some strength to it. And it's weird to have a blunt edge on a tail like this. It's just unusual. If you look at planes, here's just a few examples up here right now, but they almost always have rounded edges. This has a blunt leading edge on it, which is interesting to see, and ball links on the end. Okay, so let's just lay this here. Ball link, painted. Looks like a pinch hinge, but it's kind of hard to tell if it's reinforced with maybe a glue. Looks like a glue seam in there maybe. The only telltale sign I have of it is if you look down here, there's a little bit of buildup on there. And I think they reinforced this hinge. It's honestly, I'm not sure, guys. I want to say it's just a pinch hinge for now to be on the safe side, but it's got a decent amount of material in it. They actually pinched the whole thickness in there. Good lateral strength. It's just really long, guys. This is like a really wide tail. I mean, look at compared to the Micro Draco. It is not quite 3/4 of the length. So this is gonna be a big model, okay? So the tail, but very, very light, and I like that. Oh, big reinforced plastic. That's where it joins together. Now, if you plan to repack this, I just want to point out something. These are not the same. It's going to be hard to remember how this goes, so I'm going to be kind of careful how I do this so that I can remember how to slide this back into the box, because we always like keep the packaging if we can. Okay, so the wings come out. They're all bagged. Beautiful guards. I love it.
Nice, yeah.
Because you're going to be landing right on top of this plastic. I don't know if they're accessible with screws. They aren't. It looks like they're just glued on. It would be nice to see some screws, guys, so we can take these things off. Now, this aileron doesn't reach out to the edge of the wing, but then we have a protective landing skid that also acts as like a wing fence, I think you might call that. Wing feels pretty heavy. It's big. Okay, we'll just leave this down here. We're gonna keep the packaging maybe on this one so we can slide it back in the box potentially. But just looking at the finish, very smooth. I'm noticing there's just those little bumps. Touch one of them. Give an example.
Right here, just a few.
Go back to the taped. You feel them?
Yeah.
So this is unpainted. These are decals. These are decals too, but they feel pretty good. This is clear. This is clear, so it's actually all connected. On fast flying sailplanes, if you have a nasty edge and you have a bunch of little edges, they'll peel and then buzz, and it's so annoying. Looks like the flap protrudes out. I can't tell. No, it's just a pinch hinge. Yeah, that's glue. They've got glue down the seam of that. You can see it on this better. So when we deploy the flaps, this is going to just pull down. So it's a pinch hinge modified from the top end. Okay, and then we have a wing connection. This is where the wing joiner is going to go, and then there's a nice action. Feel it, spring loaded. It's not like solid plastic.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of people try to do this on planes lately, and even on kind of some of the nicer brands, I've not been like super impressed with some of the wing, the quick disconnects. Because sometimes they just don't seem like they do it, but it feels like they're gonna do it about 3 times before they break, okay? Now for us, like I said, we don't oftentimes take our planes apart, but on a plane like this, especially if you plan to hike up a mountain with it and do slope soaring, you wanna be able to take it apart and stick it in a backpack or something. So you might have the plane like mostly together and have the tail sticking out, but you want the wings in the backpack. That's what I'm thinking about. That's why I care about it on this plane. Okay, so just going along with this. And it's, for us, it's not really a mountain. It's not like we're in the Swiss Alps or something like that, but that would be pretty cool. These two are taped together. I'm just kind of peeling the tape off so I can get the other wing out. You see what I'm talking about? It's taped together. It's maybe not so good. There's nothing really that holds this in. It's just the rudder, okay? So it looks like the rudder has a style that clips onto something. There's a carbon fiber tube that goes through. Oh, see what I just did when I pulled on that hard?
Oh,
be careful. Yeah. It wanted to damage the foam. So I'm gonna be a little bit more careful now. Cut this. You see what I did? When I pulled hard on that, this tape was strong and it actually bent my foam a little bit. So I'm gonna just flatten that with my finger now. That's one thing about foam that's like, you gotta be, I'm excited to get this out of the packaging, but I'm trying to be careful. There I went, not being careful enough. It's not like the damage is permanent or anything, but why do they use this little tape?
That tape is strong.
It's extremely strong, but it's annoying because you can't get it undone. Okay. Man, that looks really good. Super smooth, incredibly light. Ball link is on the inboard hole, okay? Mm-hmm. So they're wanting a lot of movement from that, okay? Or they don't have enough room for the action. So sometimes on rudders, depending on how they're protected, they have to do that. So we'll see if it's one or the other. And it's kind of weird. We've had a couple of rudders over the years too, where going to the inboard portion, the inboard on the control horn it didn't even change the amount of movement. It's because of the way the rudder servo was mounted. I don't know if you remember that plane I'm thinking of.
I don't.
I thought it was like an airliner or something we worked on once. Certainly wasn't the airliner we just recently did. Okay, so the other wing, you've already kind of seen this. So let's talk about strength of the wing now that you've already seen the connection points and these releases, which are beautiful. This is painted on the bottom, okay? And then this is taped. Very good match on the color. If this color is the correct color, then it looks fine. I'm a little bit afraid that it might look faded in the artwork, but it's not faded. It's just kind of the color they picked. It's not a cardinal red. It's like more of like a muted red.
Yeah.
And the packaging looks more like a cardinal red. So it's not faded. So just trying to wrap my mind around it. And the only reason I bring that up is because like our company, the company I work for my day job, we have a cardinal red. And sometimes we get labels and things made for like our stickers and the stickers look faded and it drives me crazy. Has nothing to do with this model, sorry. Okay, so this is a folding prop. It's taped in here. I'm not sure why it's not on. Okay. Okay, so let's just look at this, because this is definitely going to take a little bit of assembly. It doesn't look like it's going to be real tough. But why do they not have a folded prop installed?
I don't know.
Seems like of all the things you would install on a model like this, it'd be the folding prop. So 11/8 big metal joiner.
Yeah.
Those are some heavy duty. I'm nervous those things are going to want to come out. But this is metal. All of it's metal. It's milled out of aluminum, it feels like. And then there's a set screw here and a set screw here. And then 11/8. I like that because you can put different folding props on if you decide you wanted to size up or size down depending on your application. And a lot of guys that do pure sailing, they don't even need the folding prop, I guess. So if you're gonna go slope soar, you could hypothetically do it without. Okay, so the other side, there's more stuff taped in here. Looks like some clevises, push rods. Yeah, just push rods. 3 screws. Okay, it looks like about 2.5 millimeters probably. Okay. And then it looks like we've got just probably elevator and rudder. And then of course the spinner mechanism. Okay. So here on Brian Phillips RC, we try to show the entire Unbox systemically so that you can follow along and build just about any plane you want. Now these are smaller screws. I don't know if they're gonna use, I think they're gonna be used to hold this on, so I'm gonna put that together with the actual spinner. And this bag I'm throwing out because I don't think we're gonna need that. I'm gonna keep this little one in case we have to take that off. That'd be a bummer.
Okay.
Okay, so over here, there is another like fin. What does that go to? I don't even see it on there. Maybe it's like the thing that goes down, like here. Where the heck is that thing?
I don't know. You'll take it
I don't
out.
see it on the picture.
Box.
Oh, it's the tail. It's the tail. It's an
Oh,
extension on the fuse. See, look. This is gonna go on the end of the fuse. So, dang it. I was hoping it would fit back in the box for people, but it looks like that is how they squeezed it into the size. And guys, you gotta thank the manufacturers when you see annoying things like that. And you're like, why would I thank somebody for doing an annoying thing? I'll tell you where it comes back in the pocketbook.
Yep.
Because if this box would have been longer, that's why the spinner's not installed. Because they went through heaven and hell to make this thing fit in a package. And I guarantee you, that's one of the modifications they made.
Yeah.
Because they probably got this thing and they were super happy with it. And they're like, can we shorten it here or can we shorten it there?
Yeah.
And they're like, we got to take the
This will
tip.
cost you $427 to ship.
And then, yeah, exactly. So it's like you pretty much make, and you wouldn't believe, I mean, there's probably, I bet there's 10% of the models that are made, they realize we can't fit this in packaging.
Yeah.
And so therefore it doesn't ever it doesn't ever make it past market cost analysis. Okay, empty. Well, for us, we probably don't have to worry about the packaging now because we're gonna assemble this thing and keep it assembled. I am curious though, can we use this as a plane stand? I wanna see if it'll work. Okay, before we do that, let's look. Okay, first of all, very beautiful lines. Canopy shape is a little bit unique. It's got a little bit of sturdiness to it. It's not super sturdy. It looks like you could add a pilot if you wanted, but you'd have to hack up the pilot. The connections are actually a little ribbon cable, but they are actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 wires, so that's good. So if you had a Hextronics balance lead, looks like you could replace this with a balance lead. That's nice. I would suggest until you're ready to use it, put it there so it doesn't fall back in your fuse. Big, heavy duty, look at that. Yeah. That is beautiful. The wing box is beautiful. And then of course you've got your servos. These are big servos, a big protective cover. And then of course, this is gonna be a clip-in style. That's what I was thinking. Yep, and that's the design they did. So yep, I was thinking that's what was gonna happen. And there's a decal that goes over the protective part.
Nice, that's all covered up.
It's also nice that we have a big protective block here, but that's made of wood.
Oh.
Very unusual choice in my opinion, but that's probably because the plastic would have made it too heavy, way out on the end of the fulcrum. This feels very light, okay? I'm not gonna say the rest of it feels very light, but I'm gonna flip this around, both of them, and just see if it sits. Oh, that is so cool. If we can use it as a plane stand, that's pretty neat. I mean, we're not gonna use it because I don't want the dang thing to fall over.
Yeah, I know, makes me nervous.
But it does actually work. And technically you could stick those back into the box if you're really into that sort of thing, which we're not. Okay, we're gonna take a sec, clean up, and come right back for the build. All right, so we have one piece that looks to be glued in, and that would be this tail plug, okay? So this is gonna extend the fuse out. Now, you could put it in backward if you weren't paying attention, so make sure you get it right. Would have really liked to see this magnetically attached or clipped in. It is a 2.5 millimeter drive for the bigger ones. They must be some sort of a horizontal stabilizer mount. And then of course the smaller ones are 1.5 millimeters for the spinner. And so we just have some China glue left over from another model. But if you need China glue and you don't have China glue, we get this from a number of different sources, one of which could be Hobby King. They sell it, it's called Fuselage. And it is in a white tube like this, it's fine. I'd get the smaller size, the bigger size. We've had some issues in the past. Hopefully those issues are resolved. But at the end of the day, you should be able to order it when you're ordering your plane, okay? So we'll slide a little bit of glue around the edge, and then we'll go a little bit on the flat. Now I like to put it on this piece rather than on the fuse when possible. And that way it gets where it needs to go without being a big mess. But I'm gonna just go on the flat a little bit too. This is not a super tight machine fit, okay? So just be aware of that. Now you notice I have a Q-tip on here. That's because the last time I was using it, I was spreading and slathering the glue, which is always a good idea to spread that out. And this stuff works like contact cement. So the best way to do it is to slather that around. And you'll notice I'm not even really worrying about the face. That's because it's got a hollow tube in there if you look close. So I'm gonna just do a little bit more glue. Now this stuff is dirt cheap. That's why we don't really worry about it too much. It's just kind of like use as much as you need. It's not like CA where it's like $30 for a tiny little tube of it. And that's part of the reason why I almost always come back to China glue, because it is the way that they put the halves together in China, okay? Or Malaysia, or wherever they happen to be building a particular model, or Switzerland, or Germany, or wherever it is, okay? Most of them are made in China, okay? China, okay? Stick it in. Spread out the glue. Make it tacky, pull it apart. Look at the strings, ooh. And then get your strings worked, let it sit, okay? Put your glue away. You'll come back to it in a minute. The best thing you can do is let this set up and kick off for a few minutes. Also, if you're ordering a receiver from Horizon, we use Spectrum receivers, you can also order this foam to foam. It works the same way. I do actually slightly prefer the off-brand Chinese versions if they're clear. So we have offerings in our supplies tab at bprc.me. But like I said, you can either order it from the plane. When you're ordering the plane, you can get the glue from Hobby King, or if you order a receiver from Spectrum, then you can order that while you're getting it from Horizon Hobby. So, all right, of course, competitive brands, but here on Brian Phillips RC, we are not afraid to put them together because that's what everybody does, okay? Now it's in. I used to do this all the time. I am gonna, full disclosure, hold it over the couch, okay? It's been 10 seconds, okay? The whole weight of the plane easily would hold, okay? That thing is not coming out, okay? That's why we like China glue. It is easy, it's effective, and it's really cheap, okay? I have CA sitting in there that I've had and used a quarter of it, and it's like drying out, okay? I've tried a million different things. I put it in the fridge, I put it in the freezer, I put it in a dry place, I put it in dark places, I put it in bright places. It doesn't matter. Once you open it, it starts working, okay? All right, so motor shaft, it's all internal. Let's pop this open. We haven't even showed you inside, sorry. Oh wow, that is clean. Okay, glue from China glue. I was just talking about China glue. They have China glue here that protruded out of the joint and was holding on to this, which is reinforced. Looks like a 3D printed knob. That is unusual as all get out. It looks like what they did was they had to 3D print a modified tip to help hold these canopies in because they had problems, okay? Because the plug that they were gonna use with foam did not give them enough, or the motor needed to be bigger than they anticipated, so the foam plug that they were gonna use didn't work, so they had to modify the model. I'm never gonna hold that against the manufacturer, by the way. Find a problem, solve a problem, make it good for the customer. I don't care how they do it. As long as it's good for me as a customer, I don't care. But you can tell this thing's 3D printed, okay?
Is it wood or is it?
No, it's 3D printed. You can tell the way it's 3D printed. But all that does is it holds the canopy in. So it's like, how much stress are you gonna have on the canopy? Now, another thing too is, you see this locking mechanism? They have this big plastic plate, but they have this thin, pointy one here. It goes back, but then it stops, okay? This goes in, drop it in, push it down. Does it go? Hardly. You kind of have to guide it and then make sure you get good purchase on the lock point, okay? So of all the stuff on this model that I've been super impressed with, maybe not super impressed with the fitment, but it does work and it works fine. I just really like it. We have been getting some good ones where they go in like this and they drop down, they get a big round button. We've noticed that on a few, like the airliner recently, and it just presses. You press the button, it pops out. It's beautiful, you never have a problem. It's got a big, robust, like octagonal or square drive that slides in. These thin ones just, they leave something to be desired because when you get in an accident, it always tends to rip through things, okay? Not saying that's gonna happen in your application, not saying it's a big deal because it's not, but we just point things out like that. Also serviceability. Speaking of serviceability, we have a Phillips screw. I don't know why they used Phillips, but I'm still happy that they held the wires down. And then they have an ESC 50 amps clear, very nice, and Velcroed in serviceable. And then here's our XD60 plug. And the breakout board is labeled rudder, flap, aileron, ESC, and elevator. Why ESC? Is there power for something else in there? Oh, there's a reverse thrust on this. I mean, we're not going to use reverse thrust on a folding prop, but it could just be a programming port, but my guess is that is for reverse thrust. So if you're going to be landing on water, that was a joke, guys.
I do think there is reverse thrust. I think I remember seeing that somewhere.
You use reverse thrust on sailplanes.
Yeah.
Because reverse thrust on a folding prop would not be good. You want braking because you need to be able to stop the motor so that you can arrest the spin so that these fold down, okay? If you don't have braking, it won't work. Trust me, there's been a million Chinese little throwaway planes that cost like 75, 100 bucks, and they don't have that feature and they suck because of it, okay? Because they just keep spinning. So you have this giant disc. You have to think of the prop as a disc, and that becomes a giant friction plate that slows you down. And that's what tractoring your prop will do. If you have, say, like a J3 Cub that doesn't have flaps, then you can slip by using the rudder and ailerons to roll, and you can control your descent by slowing down, but then that you don't want to stop and break the motor so it stops like this because there's very little friction. You want it to tractor. Okay, getting back to the point. This thing obviously is going to mount, and then this thing is going to mount to it. Okay, so it's an assembly like that, very simple, but also a little bit unique. There's flats here and here. So opposite sides of the motor shaft, there are flats milled, okay? So I'm gonna slide this on to the milled point right there. And then I'm gonna take this screw off, which is 1.5 millimeter, don't lose it. This countertop was brought to you by Brian Phillips RC so that it'd be impossible to see parts. Hilarious joke, I know.
And no, we're not changing it for people that say we should change it.
See this? Yeah, we bought this because we like it.
Yeah.
Okay, it was a hilarious joke.
The airplanes will survive.
The airplanes will survive. One lost bolt every second or third plane.
And no, Brian's too lazy to get out like a plate or a bowl or something.
No, heck no, we're not doing that. No, we're definitely not doing that. Okay, so now real quick, is this gonna catch the canopy every time that spins? Let's talk about that. One of the problems we've had in the past is you have a folding prop that rests on the actual, let's look, camera crew, look. Nope, it's gonna miss. So even if this whacks and it leaves a little mark on the glass or the plastic, we should be totally fine. Oh, big old inlet too. Inlet here, inlet here. So we've got good breathability. I'm assuming there's an outlet. Yep, I grabbed it when I flipped over. It looks like a fish birthing hole. Is that what that is?
I guess. We've had a lot of that here lately.
What, fish birthing?
Yeah. The kids have got like 4 pregnant fish.
Okay, so 1.5 millimeters?
So that is only held on with those 2 little like set screws.
Yeah, who cares? What's wrong with that?
Oh, it seems like it's going very quickly.
So what? It's all you have to do is keep it attached to something. It doesn't care.
Okay.
Objects in motion tend to
Stay in motion.
Okay, objects at rest tend to
fly off of your airplane.
For God's sake.
I watch Mark Rover videos too, you know.
Okay, all right. Get in there. All right, so guys, 1.5 millimeters. This is gonna be a very quick build. As you can see, we're like 3/4 of the way done, and we've barely done anything, which is awesome. I love the simplicity of these builds. I know some of you guys long for the days where you stick build planes. Guess what? Those days still exist. You can still do that. But guys like me that are busy, that work 70, 80 hours a week so we can pay our bills, we can still have this hobby, which is beautiful. Because it used to be, I mean, there was a time when, you know, people had time to build models. And that was not recently for me. Not now. Exactly.
Not ever for you.
Okay, so we're done with this. Well, that's not true. I did when I was a kid. There was a few times I had time to build, but it's not now. All right, so let's put this on next. Why? Because it's gonna make it easier to put the rudder. The rudder assembly has to go on second because of the way this mounts, okay? So this is plastic, receivers go to the inside, this is foam around it, and so this receptacle presses down and helps mold this whole thing together, and they're aligned into these holes, which are also plastic, and then it supports from underneath. Very stout, very sturdy, it's gonna keep everything square. Beautiful design. I love it because one of the things that's hard on big sailplanes with big giant tails like this is that you have to keep everything square. I am still not sure that that is enough bearing assembly to actually keep this thing square. We will find out. By the way, this is kind of a detail I was just gonna say that's kind of cool. And okay, a little bit hard to line up because the foam had to be kind of like swirled around to get it to fit, but now that it's in there, it's good. By full disclosure, that will be easier the second, third, fourth, fifth times if you take your planes apart. Like I said, we don't oftentimes take apart our planes. One spare screw, by the way.
Of each size?
Yep. So this is a 2.5, just going until it feels tight. And then same thing here. Do not use Loctite on these things because they are going through plastic. If you do, 100% guarantee that will fail, okay? Be ready for it. If it fails, don't be surprised. They lubricated this. It is lubricated, okay? So when you get lube all over your shaft, you'll understand what the heck happened. So don't be surprised. I do not have a ball end on my drive here. A ball end would make this step a little bit easier. And yes, it is getting lube on my handle, which is not good. I try not to get lube on my handles when possible. Camera crew, tell people about getting lube on your handle.
I don't have a lot of experience with that. I try and avoid it.
Really?
Yeah.
You sure?
That's kind of...
Okay. You don't have problems with lube on your handle?
I don't. I mean, you might, I can see, but...
Well, I'm just saying, I don't. I just wanted to make sure people couldn't learn anything from that. All right, so I wiped the lube off my handle and my knob, so that's always good. Got that cleaned off. I was just getting ready to tell people something serious, and then that really important thing came up, okay? So this snaps on, okay? You can see it's opened up, snaps on. We've had planes like this before. I think this is so cool.
Oh,
You want to talk about it?
Yeah, no, I love it.
Beautiful fitment.
Super
You hear the lube?
I do.
It's spreading around.
It is.
Beautifully.
I can tell.
Actually works fantastically. Very good assembly. I will take that all day long over a pinch hinge.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And yet we have one here, we have one here, we have one here, we have one here, and we have one here. But remember, people, I was hoping it would whistle. It didn't.
Oh.
Remember, people, even though they are pinch hinges, they're glue reinforced. Okay. We now can, with a certain level of certainty, because the wings, you can see it on the wings, but you couldn't on the elevator. They would not do it on the wings and not the elevator. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just go with they are. I hope I'm not wrong. We try to be totally truthful on this channel. And if we are wrong, we apologize in advance. Okay. I'm sticking this thing through, but I want to show you a trick of the day. You could take some lube from your towel. No, go to the other side. Okay. I'm opening this. Why? Because when I stick this giant black rod through, look what's going to happen. Show them from this view. See this? Take your fingers, clear the hole before you stick the black rod in, and don't rip it. I'm serious. Do you see what just happened?
You gotta make sure your wires are out of the way.
Yeah, if you rip your wires, you're not gonna be flying very far. And then you're gonna be like, you know, sending emails feverishly to Hobby King, like, why'd you send me a lemon? It's like, well, just because you made lemon out of your lemonade out of your lemons.
You made your lemon, so.
You made it. All right. So which wing is which? I'm so confused. Is it this one? All right, so let's see. This is a moment of truth. All these like clip doohickeys and sometimes they don't line up. Oh, it's a very good fit so far. No problems yet. Camera crew is probably gonna have to grab my black rod. Uh-oh, look.
What?
Keys up, keys up.
Do I need to hold your rod?
Not yet.
Okay.
Just focus the camera if it needs to be focused.
That's good.
Clipped?
Okay.
Make sure that's clipped, guys. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about that yet. I'm just gonna move the plane stand, rest it on the edge. Very easy.
Did it clip in already?
So far, so good. Yes.
It
yes,
did?
but what I'm saying is, I'm not so sure I'm happy with that mechanism because I don't like having that wire to have to plug in. But I do like the wire that I have to plug in. You wanna know why? Every time we have a wing that's complex, case in point.
That one?
The Airbus A320. It's got so much going on in that wing because the ESCs are inboard and they pass through and it's got a giant plug. Now, granted, we didn't have a big problem with it, but see my black rod? Okay, so I'm just gonna push this on until it starts fighting. Ah, there it goes. Now I gotta do this. Okay, no big deal. The keys are up. The keys are up. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, plug this in. Remember, this is not a balanced lead. If you plug a battery in there, you're gonna damage this thing, so don't do that because you'll damage your servos almost certainly. But I do wanna warn you about something. You'll notice that it sounds like they're clipped in. Make sure your wires pass through. Okay, it seems like that should be attached, but I don't believe it is yet. I'm gonna flip my plane upside down by going like this.
Okay.
Okay. And then I'm gonna put it on its back. I'm gonna reposition it slightly so you guys can see a little better and make sure the tail's gonna clear, just barely clears.
Yep.
Right here. Clips are not clipped. Go to the end. Go to the end. Just very gently. Okay, do you guys hear the noise? I heard the noise. I heard the noise.
Mine didn't clip twice, I
Nope,
don't think.
only one. You stay there.
Okay.
Go to the other end. I want you to press with your hand. This is not hard. No, right here is the center. You have to press like that. Okay, on the front portion of the wing. No, not up, straight. Okay, got it, got it. Okay, did you guys see what we did there? I had to teach my camera crew about dihedral, okay? When you press through, if you press at the wrong angle, you may not get it to clip. Sometimes if you wiggle them like that, it'll actually go. That's what she did. I didn't want her to do that, but it worked, and it caused it to clip in, okay? So, is this on good now? Yes, it is on good. Test that crap. Do not assume it's right until you test it. By the way, let's look at this. Belly landing, belly pan all the way back here. Absolutely fantastic. Would have liked to actually see a decal instead of paint here. That's paint. Why decal instead of paint? Because that would scrape off and then you'd be left with white. You know what? Maybe it's about the same either way. Yeah. This is a decal, looks beautiful. Good color match on decals to body color, but it is not dead nuts. It's not perfect.
That's pretty
It's close enough. It's gonna pass the 5 foot distance. But the thing is, this white doesn't match perfectly the raw foam. That's incredibly difficult to do. We have rarely seen them match. But guys, that is an easy build. And this thing feels light. That feels light. I love it. Okay, light sailplanes, big sailplanes, 2.2 meters. I'm 6'1" or 6'3" if I'm buying life insurance.
Well, you're getting taller. Wow.
It's big.
It is.
Huge. Okay?
Nice.
So we are going to set up the radio system next. And this is the radio system part of the build. The Unbox build radio setup is what we call it. We've coined that terminology years ago here on Brian Phillips RC because we want to help people get out of the chair and into the air. Part of the way we do that is by going from start to finish. That includes all the steps. Sometimes I include lots of details that may seem unnecessary to you, and they might be to you, but to the other 400 people watching, they might need some help. Okay, so just keep that in mind before you complain in the comments down below. But if you have comments down below, leave them below, and the complaints about how long the video is. It's just part of it, guys. We're trying to teach people that don't know, okay? I don't know why they went around the wire with this, because like that would be kind of a dumb thing to do. So I'm gonna try to get this out, but I don't know that I have enough length to do it. That might be why they went around the wire. Why? Why? I don't understand. Okay, so they want to use a 4000 4S. Because this is a Hobby King product, we will go ahead and showcase this with a Hobby King. Holy cow, they put 2,400 milliamp hours into this battery. So 2,300 out of 4,000, that means that thing was needing some juice, okay? Which is probably about right for a battery that's being sent for shipping. Keep in mind, when you charge your batteries, your charger will show you the milliamp hours that get pumped into the pack. And so it's really nice to see that. So like if you have, you know, like a Brian Phillips RC video you're watching and I like flew like 4 times past the timer and then I bring it in here and charge it and it's like a 2,000 milliamp hour battery and it charges like 2,400 milliamp hours into it.
Yeah.
It's usually about what we do.
Typically.
That's kind of a joke though. It shouldn't be that bad. You're like, why are you putting a battery in there? You don't have a receiver. That's true. I just want to see how it's going to fit. Okay, so this is the suggested battery from the manufacturer. Let's see if the dang thing even fits. Okay, so I'm just gonna undo these. These are high quality Avios Velcro straps, double-sided, so they're easy to use, but I don't wanna drop this because that'll be a pain in the neck to get out. And I'm not real impressed with the fit yet. Why do I care about the fit now? Camera crew?
Well, we're gonna decide where the receiver is.
Ah, yes. So it's not totally idiotic that I'm doing this right now.
Oh, just
okay, just a little. It's not idiotic at all.
No.
So the other thing too is you'll notice that this wire goes back here and it's short for the ESC. So that means the battery has to be faced backward and it has to probably favor this side. I might be able to get away with this too. But just full disclosure, there is a gap here, and that gap would allow you, if you redid it or did it differently, to run your wires from your ESC under the tray. Looks like they did not have their manifest desires come to fruition. Also, we need to put these things in. Why did we not put them in?
Well, we want to center our surfaces
That's
first.
right. So we're not going to put that in until we center the surfaces. For that reason, we're going to put them right here so that they're high visibility. And hopefully I don't hand launch this, because even though Ian says you don't need an elevator on a well-trimmed sailplane, you probably want a rudder.
Probably.
That's a joke. If you guys don't know, that's an inside joke from before. And by the way, he's actually right. He's a very good sailplane pilot. And he's right, if you have a well-adjusted sailplane, you probably technically can fly without an elevator, but not me, okay? Shelf liner trick time. This is one of the easiest things you can do to add value to your aircraft without too much effort and extremely low cost. This stuff is like 11 or 12 bucks, and look how long that thing is. You could line shelves in your kitchen.
You could.
If you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah, we're not.
But we're just...
We do that.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna cut approximately the size we want, and just keep in mind, you do not even have to line the entire pocket, but since we don't know exactly where the battery's gonna sit. Now, most people are just gonna be like, why don't you just plop some Velcro in there? Yes, good point, you could do that too. But because I didn't notice any Velcro came with this, other than these straps, I'm gonna drop this in here. And then what's gonna happen is that's gonna give us some friction so that the battery doesn't slide. I do not like having all that crap mounted to my batteries. I like being able to see and read the labels so that I could charge them easier. Also, it just annoys me to have all that fuzzy stuff and they get all dirty and gross. All right, going back to China glue. All right, so all I'm gonna do here, squeeze a little bit of China glue out. It does not need to be a lot. It just needs to be enough to resist, because really at the end of the day, you wouldn't even need glue and this stuff would still work. But because we have access to this hole, we're just gonna slather the sticky stuff right in the hole. Okay, and then we're gonna let it sit there for a second. And this side has kind of a memory to it, so we'll put the memory down and I'll just slather a little bit on the four corners just to kind of keep it from slipping. Under heavy loading is all that really matters for this. And once you strap those Velcro straps down, you're gonna be golden, okay? So a little bit on the corners is mostly what I'm concerned about, because I was just sort of slathering it aimlessly, and just a little bit down the center. Now you guys remember when I put the tail on and showed you that it held up the whole plane without any problem? The same is going to be true here, okay? Just like that. And so we'll just let that cook off. One of the reasons I like China glue is because you can get it on your human flesh and it will just basically ball up like rubber cement that you made little boogers of as a kid, if you're my age or before, and these little boogers can be flung at your friends to annoy them.
See what our kids are missing out on now that they can't have rubber cement because it's toxic or something.
It's probably not toxic at all, because this is a naturally occurring element. It's like one of the least toxic things we get from China.
Of course it is.
It is, it's made from tree bark.
Oh man, it's stinky.
Is it really?
It is.
Wish I could tell you. Guys, if you didn't know this, I had a brain injury 2 years ago. Still can't smell. And no, that's not why I'm crazy.
No, he was like this before that mostly.
Yeah, I'm actually worse now.
You really can't get those straps around the wires?
No, I could. I just haven't had a chance to do it yet.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so now real quick, we're also going to talk about 3200 50-seat packs, smart packs. Of course, these ones are going to have an EC3. So an EC3, excuse me, an IC3, which is the same dimensionally. It's just got the data line on it too, and a slightly different, it's got pants instead of everything being integrated to one piece. Do you know what pants are on a battery?
Yeah.
Okay. I just didn't know if I've ever explained it out loud.
Oh,
If I just assumed you know it. So the 3200 looks like the fitment will actually be quite a little bit better. But we'll see kind of how things go. Now, the other thing is, you notice where the heat is? This it's kind of maybe not ideal, because I like to stay away from the heat. Looks like that battery is actually going to fit a little better than the 4000, but we'll still fly it with a 4000. The reason we're going to do that is not unambiguously because it's a Hobby King product. We're doing this as a Hobby King review, so we're going to show the Hobby King product. But we'll probably also show that depending on how long the flight is, if it's super long flight, we probably won't even jump to it, but we'll have it in our bag of tricks, okay? Full disclosure, this stuff, we link to it in the brianphillipsrc.com/supplies, or you can always type the shorter link, which is bprc.me/supplies. Or you just go to the website, it's right up at the top, super hard to miss. And yes, all those things, we keep them live because at the end of the day, you know, like this is another type of shelf liner. This stuff works okay. It's not quite as good as the solid stuff because like stuff gets caught in it and the glue sometimes comes through, which is annoying. So we have switched over to the solid stuff, just seems to hold up a little bit better in our application. Now, radio setup. We're gonna use our NX10, it's our trusty device. Now, if you guys are using the Turnigy offerings, whatever they've got at Hobby King, that's fine. This is where we'll part ways and you can go on and fly. They should have a downloadable profile for you on their offering. I know nothing about it, okay? So I'm gonna just go with Spectra because I want AS3X Plus and it is awesome. So that being said, the stabilizer is gonna be handled on the receiver. I think on this one, because of the nature of the batteries and where the fitment is, this would really scream for a 630 or 637T would be even better because then we would be able to use, I don't know why that's in there, but I'm gonna take it out now. I think it might have originally taped this to the side so it wouldn't whack around and damage something. But cable management is second to none for being a plug and fly. We almost never see cables that clean. So let's pause, we'll get some receivers out and talk about choices. All right, so 630 or 637T. Now, why 637T? This is considerably more expensive, okay, than the 630. This is cheaper than the 631, but this has end pins, and it also has the integral antenna, which is nice because this will work better in this application to just kind of stay out of the way, and I would tuck it in right here for this model. But I would love to have battery telemetry, and so we're gonna have pack telemetry with this lead. And we're also gonna have the T, which speaks to the barometer function, okay? If you have a TA from a crashed bind and fly, you're not gonna have the barometric feature, and so you may want the barometer feature, and so I would use a new one for that. This one, full disclosure, is also upgraded to version 3.1.3, which means AS3X Plus is available on this model, but they have updated since then, and I'm not updating right now because I'm waiting for other people to find things that might be wrong with it, which is pretty sad because we do this a lot. My experience has been, I've been very, very, very happy with it, but they do have some whatever helpful updates. And usually what that means, in my experience, this is just speaking from personal experience and dealing with firmware in the field on industrial applications, and I'm talking about big, complicated, expensive, very expensive, like way, way, way more expensive than anything we deal with here. Usually when firmware gets updated, it gets updated because they found something wrong. Sometimes it's not customer facing, but it gets found and they want to fix it before you find it. That's probably what's going on, but I just don't know because I'm not on the end. But let's just say for now, if you want to be smart, you'll take the advice of the manufacturer, not the lazy guy on YouTube named Brian, okay? All right, so this has been upgraded by me. By the way, if you want to upgrade the firmware on these, it is a relatively simple process, but you have a firmware upgrader tool you hook up to, and it's not too bad, okay? So we have done that before, and so you can refer back to AS3X Plus upgrades. Did we talk about that at some point?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll just put that aside. Now, you see there's a cable that comes in here with a little micro PH 1S connector. That is going to be the one that actually goes back and taps in to your battery here. Now, you could also tap other places provided you're parallel with the actual pack. Okay, this could be one of those like little annoying details that you don't want to deal with, and so you go with a 630 instead. Now for us, the sun's setting, we had some weather come through and it sort of screwed up our plans for filming earlier. We wanted to film this fairly quick, and as you know, Brian Phillips RC videos are not historically short. That's because we're trying to teach you guys how to do this and not necessarily always up against sunset or up against some weather conditions. That's just our reality. Doesn't mean you're gonna necessarily be in that condition, okay? So these wires get separated out. I like to twist them so that it's nice and neat, but you'll notice this is a lot of extra wire here. We may actually have too much extra, but what I'm gonna do is I want to pierce the lead into each of these. And you're probably thinking to yourself, are you literally just gonna pierce the lead? I'm literally just gonna do that You guys see what I'm doing here? I'm gonna see if I can just make sweet, sweet love to this cable right now. Oh yeah, get in there. You'll notice that it is not wanting to pierce worth a darn. And so what I have learned in the past is that my smallest driver, which is in the tune of about 1.5 millimeters, is not small enough. I have one that goes down to 0.7 millimeters, which is one of these German Wigla or Wia. Well, I don't know. They're really good. Somebody sent us these. They're awesome.
They're super nice.
But it's the smaller lead. And I found that they work really, really nice for this. Now you can pierce that there, or you can heat this up, pull that back, and actually solder it on like a proper way. But I have found that this works really handy dandy to just pierce through the silicone, only the silicone. That makes a nice little hole. A nice little hole, nice little bushes. Okay. And we'll slide this in. Do you know what I was just talking about there, camera crew?
Yes.
Who?
Bob Ross.
Bob Ross, that's right. Nice little mountain. Nice little squirrel.
You would make
Squirrels.
a terrible Bob Ross.
Yeah, it's like the most energetic Bob Ross ever.
It's like if Bob Ross was on
soothed.
speed.
Yes.
Brian
Phillips, RC. Jack Black meets Bob Ross. Okay, here it is. I don't know where I got that reputation.
I don't either.
It's very obnoxious.
I need to watch more Jack Black movies, apparently.
Yeah, evidently. Okay. So slide this in. Same thing goes. Slide it in. That one's a little harder to see. Now, what you can do is you don't actually have to penetrate into the cabling too much. You just have to get in there. And you're like, but Brian, what about 4S? It's going to catch on fire and everybody's going to burn up and it's going to be a deadly mess. And not really. It's like putting a meter, you know, you put your digital multimeter across your leads on your motor. I mean, you're not getting 4,000 amps through your meter. You're getting a small little tiny current load because the load is what actually pulls the current, okay? If you don't have a demand, it doesn't go anywhere, okay? Right?
Right. That's what I was going to say.
Camera crew's always talking about it.
Yeah. It's my favorite.
Some electrical tape. We're just going to do it the easy way. The reason I do this is because I don't want to waste the time to desolder the things. Now, you can desolder them if you want to spend the time. You've got the time. You do it in the middle of the winter, or you're not in a rush like we are for everything in our lives. Then it won't be a problem, okay? So just a little piece of tape. A nice little squirrel. Nice little squirrel. Your camera crew is holding the camera up high as though she can't see. I'm just going to turn the plane to make it even harder.
Thanks.
You're welcome. This lead is just not very long, folks.
It's not. It's okay.
And so I apologize. Normally I would try to be a little bit more cooperative.
Nah.
The truth finally comes out. Okay, so I'm going to just roll this around, put a little bit of pressure, and then I'll roll around. Now, normally with vinyl style tape, I want to get pressure, but you have to have tape holding it down first. And then once you do that, I'm just going to run that back and forth. And yes, I know I'm blocking a lot of your view. My apologies, folks. And that's all the better it has to be to do its job. Now, this lead, I need to press that back in because it kind of just pulled back a little bit. No big deal. I want all that copper buried into the silicone because you want to get good penetration between the silicones.
Right.
Tape. All right, here it is. So just a little bit of tape here. Hold that down. Press against, oh boy, press against the silicone coated wires. Go around. From this side, it's wanting to stick to the other wire. And then my goal is I want to put pressure on this by stretching it and then let it relax as it presses down, okay? Very nice, yeah, looks a little bit like a homeless camp. Sorry, my apologies there for anybody who's homeless watching this video. If you're homeless, you wanna buy from links, the video's links in the description below. I think you need a good address though, right?
Probably.
To order?
Yeah, or like the internet.
I shouldn't make fun of homeless people. Okay, see
What's
this?
that for?
Watch what's gonna happen now. This is gonna be incredible, folks. Watch this. Oh, nice. We're just gonna do this. Hold that middle finger there, get a little pressure up against it, and press them together, okay? Now wrap around from behind, slide this around. Sometimes I catch myself making fun of people and then I feel bad about it. I was making fun of homeless people just a minute ago. Sometimes homeless people.
Jerk.
I know, I shouldn't do that. That's a mean thing to do. Some people are homeless by choice, some people aren't. Okay, there it is, guys. I repent. It's taped. Why? That looks terrible. Looks like you fixed it, Brian. Listen, I made it better. Just because I used the whiteout doesn't mean I made a mistake. All right, so now we've got this lead and they're not even twisted, but that's okay because now I can twist this if I wanted to. I'm gonna take this little 1S micro pH connector, I'm gonna hold and support, and I'm gonna get a couple of twists going. And you're like, wow, that looks almost mechanical. And you see that nice little twist. Now I can hold the twist point and I can walk back. Watch this, guys, it's gonna be incredible. It's gonna be incredible. And then it's gonna wanna like twist all over itself here. No big deal, we can live with it because then we'll let go and it will relax, okay? But then we're gonna have a nice contained cable. So we're gonna pause and do that right now quickly and open some windows. All right, so we now have that twisted, okay? So it's a little long, but really my objective with this lead is just to be able to get out of the way. And we were just talking about this off camera. I just realized we have outboard ailerons, we have inboard flaps. Congratulations. How do you set up crow? You have to separate through that little breakout board which leads go to the signal for this and which lead goes to the signal for that. You have to separate one wire at least for one of the two, pull that off of the 5S connector, or excuse me, the 4S connector, which is 5 wires. You have to figure out which one it is, pull it out, make a singular end, make a singular servo plug, and then split that and do it. I'm not going through that trouble on this video. For the sake of this video, we're gonna set it up with a standard wing type, which will be an outboard aileron, inboard flap, elevator, and rudder. Just so you know, full disclosure, I don't plan to do crow on this, but you should be able to do crow. If you want to, it's just you'll have to do that, which means one of these 2 white wires, you'll have to pull it out like this. I'll show you how to do it right now. You have to pull this out just like that. You'll have to take an X-Acto knife, release the tab right there, you'll press it. You'll figure out which wire it is, which I might be lucky, it might be that one. There's gonna be a common, like a ground, and then there's gonna be a power, and then there's gonna be a signal, and then one's probably unused, okay? And how do I know that? Because I know how the electronics work. They might also have a common ground, and then a signal and a power, and a signal and a power, but I doubt they did it that way. They probably have power, ground, signal, unused, okay? So that means whichever one you are, you'll separate just the signal that goes out to one of the ailerons. That becomes the other aileron plug. You can separate and just peel this out. It will just pull right back, okay? Build your end on there. You'll have one servo end or a singular plug, like they do sometimes on those yellow leads, like this, okay? Which is just one plug, like this. See this? Use them on drones and stuff, you know? It's like a 1 header pin, okay? That will go into your receiver as the aileron 2, okay? I am not doing that, full disclosure, on this video. For the purposes of this video, I wanna see if this plane is worth doing that. And if it ends up being a problem or it's worth doing it, then we'll share that, okay? But full disclosure, that's what our plans are, okay? Now, this receiver needs to mount out of the way of the battery. And so one of the things we have to plug in is this. So really all I need to do is get that back to where this comes back to where the ESC is, okay? And then it just travels back to the rest of the wiring so that when you're plugging and unplugging, it doesn't yank out those test leads, right? And that's the only reason that I twist that stuff together to make it neat so that I can get back here and hypothetically stuff this back and just do a little bit of cable management by stuffing it back so that it gets out of the way, so that it's about the same length and same plug distances, okay? Just like that. So I might actually throw one more zip tie on there and just tie that into position. So we'll pause and get that. Okay, so one more zip tie, not in the box, obviously, guys. We try to tell you when stuff is included, but just, I mean, you have to use a little bit of common sense on that. We add very little materials to these builds. Okay, so there's that. Full disclosure, there was a tornado warning just a few minutes before we started our work today. Okay, so that's the old one. I like to cut, if I put a zip tie, I cut the other one off because there's no sense in having 2 of them, okay? Right in close proximity like that. So now when I move this wire, I don't have to worry about janking out our little test point, okay? Also, full disclosure, you can come back inside of your heat shrink here, and you can slide your lead in, and you can solder to the actual ESC tap point as well. But I almost never do it that way. Okay, it's a little bit more work than I want it to be. Okay, so now this one is going to plug in here, and I can't. Yep, I got it right. I just guess and check, to be honest. And then I like to fold that and fold it down just like that, so that it goes, wraps around the side. Okay, and then I'm going to be plugging these in. So the ESC, that one's pretty easy because it's going to be throttle. Okay, so from the breakout board, we know that that's going to be brown or black is down. So how do we know? Because it says signal plus minus. It's silk screen on the side there. So it's going to go to throttle, which we know is channel 1 on our Spectrum receiver. And that'll point down. And then the rest, we won't know until we set up our profile, unless you happen to know how Spectrum does things. And I'm just beginning to think.
I hear thunder.
Let's take the people outside for a minute. Let's take a break.
It's starting to rain.
By the way, look,
What?
this comes from our pond.
Yeah. We have 14,000 of them. If you'd like some,
if you want
feel
some,
free.
you can order them from our links in the video description below.
We'll send
We're just
it to you.
joking, we don't. So we got 8 inches of rain in 2 days. It flooded around our foundation. Give them a quick zoom in on our foundation with all the foam floating. And it flooded our pond. We had to get the boats out. We were really hoping to film right now. Camera crew, you need to come back a step. And we got all those logs. Yours truly and the camera crew were fishing them out of the pond in a pedal boat.
6 a.m. on Sunday
Super
morning.
fun. And those drains were all 3/4 of the way over. It was insane, the amount of water flowing out of it.
All of the dock, all you could see was the handles from the ladder.
Barely. The
Barely.
top. And I had to walk out. One of the panels floated away. I was walking out.
Yep.
And that boat was like this. It was like, "Beep."
Yep.
It was terrible. Terrible way to start the Sunday morning. And I'm out here feverishly pedaling around, pushing logs to the camera crew who's dragging them up on the shore, like 400-pound logs,
Yeah.
500-pound logs. It sucked.
And it was like pouring rain still.
But it's okay, because the joys of living in the country, and I can say this, it is super fun to have a responsibility like that, but it's also terrible to have a responsibility like that, because when you see the power of water, it's nuts.
It's crazy.
Those two 30-inch pipes were 3/4 of the, let's call it, I'm calling it 3/5 of the way up. It was a long ways up. And that water coming out on the spillway was incredible. It was like a river going over the side of that hill. So very cool. We take a minute to show you this because we were hoping to fly. Looks like Mother Nature has made up our minds. So the storm is coming. These are the realities of a YouTube channel, but absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
So if you guys see a different day for filming, you understand. All right, come back inside, camera crew. By the way, are you still filming?
I'm still filming.
Okay, so if you want to fish, there's fishing here.
Yes.
It's always super fun.
Somebody wants to teach our kid how to take fish off a
Big lightning. So guys, that's our reality. We're always rushing to meet these weather windows, and people don't understand. You're like in the Midlands. It's like, how hard can it be? It's not like you have a hurricane. No, but we have tornadoes that just show up out of nothing.
Yeah.
All right, so getting back to the point. So we have to build a model. We have to build a model in profile in our NX10 next, okay? So in order to do that, that's gonna tell us where to land the rest of the wires, and then we're gonna be able to take this and glue it probably on the side here. Now, these can be mounted in all sorts of different positions, but you wanna make sure if you're gonna mount it on the sides of the model, make sure it's not like super steep because it can cause some issues. There is correction for pitch and roll, but I've just never been super impressed. If you get a real steep angle, it's harder to correct for yaw. Yeah, you can technically correct on roll and on pitch, but not necessarily on yaw. So just keep that in mind. So if you have sides that are really curved a lot, that's usually a telltale sign you're not gonna be able to get away with it. But on this one, you can see there's carbon fiber struts that go back to add some supportive supports here. Okay, so we'll be able to glue it right about there. So we'll finish our profile and we'll give you an update on the weather if it gets crazy, because that's always super exciting. Okay, so the next move, we have to turn on the transmitter, make sure we're not on some super top secret plane.
Shouldn't be.
By the way, NX10 runs Airware, it's the Spectrum offering. And just full disclosure, our system has way more than 250 models in it. It's supposed to be limited to 250. Oh, look, the Typhoon Hawker.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so cancel and back together. Scroll down. We're gonna go all the way to the bottom to add new model. We're gonna create an acro, okay? This is where it takes a really long time if you have a bunch of models. Lots of cat hair on there. Have the cats been playing with my transmitters? Are they flying radio controlled now?
Yes, they do during the day. Shh, when you're gone.
Wow. If we could get a video of the cats flying, that would be awesome.
They would chew on your planes.
Yes, they do. And that's one thing that makes you want to destroy cats.
She gets up in the window and she jumps up on the counter and
Okay.
rubs up against
All right, so it's decided to do it. Okay, so model select we just came from. Model type we've already set. Model name, this is where we'll type it in. C248, that's a lie. We have much, much more, probably 100 more than that. And here, let's give them a quick update. It's like coming down like crazy, guys. I'm just hoping, like whenever we have an opportunity to share these interesting things, we try to share them. I know it's annoying for some of you because you're like, get to the point, but I am going
wrong
to.
channel.
Oh, what now?
Wrong channel.
Oh,
Getting to
wrong
the
channel.
point.
Yeah, getting to the point. Yeah, definitely on the wrong
That
channel.
doesn't happen here.
Yeah, don't worry. Those canoes will fill up with water.
And Brian will bail them out with an ice cream bucket.
Yeah, and I will do that. All right, so this model is called the Kobuz. I'm just gonna go with Kobuz.
All right.
Kobuz. So I'm gonna type it in and come right back. All right, so we have the Avios Kobuz 2.2. Okay, so we'll hit back. Aircraft type, this is where we set up the wing type, which is normal. Excuse me, not normal. It's gonna be flaps. Like that. Now, if you were gonna do spoilerons on the outboard portion, then you'd probably set it up like 2 ailerons, 1 flap. And then that would give you, or you could do, can you do flaprons? I don't think you do you could do flaprons and then just add flaps, but I would recommend doing it this way with 2 ailerons, okay? And then 1 flap. That'll give you the ability to add crow super easy, okay? And that's one, the wing types are so much easier than they used to be. Okay, so we're gonna set ours up with 1 aileron, 1 flap, and a normal tail. And then we'll just go down here to select image from the standard file. I think we have some that looks like it might be a
several
sailplane.
sailplanes.
It's like the Crescendo, something like that. Guys, we are running on backup batteries, huge batteries. How do I know? Because the lights just flickered. That's how long it takes to have our backup batteries come on.
Yep.
Which is pretty cool.
And sometimes the lights don't even flicker.
Okay, so I'm gonna get that pulled up, pause. All right, so this is not an advertisement for our backup battery system, but it is still cool because we have solar system and we have battery backup. And as you can see, it says it's raining. It is correct.
It is, holy cow.
You guys see this? That's what we were supposed to be flying in. So hopefully it's not a tornado, but all I'm just gonna say is our state of charge is at 99%. We have about 6 hours and 39 minutes left. I'm gonna be careful how I show this. The analysis, we've got Einstein over here talking about this, and I'm just gonna see if I can show you this in a, we'll pause and come back with the chart. Okay, so evidently we're not on backup battery. I'm sorry, I must have lied. We had solar and then we had grid and now who knows. But I thought we were on backup battery. It must have just been a flicker in the power. But this is the storm that we were gonna be flying in. Unfortunately for you, you guys come out for a second. So here on Brian Phillips RC, we show the whole RC experience, and that lightning was right there. This is what we do in the Midwest. We tempt fate by standing next to lightning. You might not want to do that, it's full disclosure, but it looked nothing like this on Sunday. But I do remember when I was pulling the boat out of the water, it lightninged right behind me.
Oh, yes.
So we're gonna continue doing this, and I just thought that'd be super cool for you guys to see. Okay, so we're gonna keep filming, I guess.
Because we're not gonna die yet.
Okay, so we're just trying to find an image file. There we go. So we'll do the T-tail, that's good enough. Oh wait, they have one that's got a motor. They have one with a motor. There we go. See?
Good night.
Yeah, sounds like that lightning is pretty close.
It is really
Wait,
close.
this is super close. Did you see that one? Let's do that one. Okay. All right, good. So then the flight mode setup, we do have to set up a flight mode. We're gonna attach it to switch D. You need to go back just a little bit, please. Thank you. Okay, so switch D, and then we'll set up the spoken flight modes. So right now, we're gonna have flight mode 1 is gonna be our AS3X Plus. And can you go back just a little so you can see the switches, please? All right, so this one, we're gonna type it in right now and we'll come right back. So cancel clears it, and then we're gonna type in AS3X. And remember, this is just what's visually displayed on the screen so that you can tell what it is when you're flying. It is not actually the setting. We'll show you how to set that here in a little bit when we're done typing. So now it says the word AS3X, which stands for Artificial Stabilization 3-Axis. And then we'll scroll way down here and find the actual audio event. Okay, so AS3X mode. So she says it. And then this one's gonna be off. So like if you're thermal soaring and you wanna try to figure out like where the thermals are, watch for the wings to tip, we can turn it off in this mode. Again, this is gonna say the word off, and then we will actually have it say OFF for off, okay? Pretty easy to scroll that in, so we'll just, and then we have to scroll down quite a bit to get to it. Okay, so the word off, so to audibly say off, AS3X mode, and then this one's gonna say safe sensor assisted flight envelope, so highlight cancel, and that clears it out. So we're gonna type in the word SAFE, or the acronym I should say, SAFE, and we'll come right back. Okay, so it says SAFE, which is exactly what we're gonna find in the audio events. We'll come right back. Okay, so now it's safe mode, off, and AS3X. That's the way I like to set it up. And then channel assign, we will eventually make some assignments, but for now I want the rotary knob attached to something. There are 6 pluggable channels on this receiver, but 20 actual channels, okay? And then I want to turn off the levers because I don't want to listen to the centering as they slide past the center when I bump them when I'm flying, because I'm not using those for anything right now. And then channel, I like to assign my B switch to flaps, and so I am going to unassign this connection on channel 7 just so that I can assign it later when I'm ready. Okay, and we don't have thrust reverse to worry about on this, so we won't have to designate a channel for that. Now keep in mind, any of the channels you're using for controlling modes and things like that can be up higher. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and on channel 7, we might as well, we'll just use that for flight mode. Okay, so you can either assign that to switch D, or you can scroll to the left and go to flight mode. So flight mode will be attached to channel 7. Again, any of these channels you can use, which is totally fine. If you use an NX7E, you'll have access to 14 channels instead of 20. NX6, you'll have access to 14 channels rather than 20, but NX8 is 20, NX10 is 20, NX20 is 20. IX, I believe, are 20 for all of them.
Yes.
But I don't know about the IX12. I'm not 100% sure.
That one might not.
I don't think they updated the firmware.
I don't think they did.
So, and as you can see, it's still just absolutely beautiful. Let's just take a second. We're gonna walk back out of the menu. And so there we are. So we're back to the regular menu. We'll just take a quick second just to give you an update. As you can see, it is now totally dark.
It's like pitch black.
And this is, it's not dark, by the way.
It's not.
The sun is not set yet, but this is what we're left with so far.
Windsock is
and
all
the windsock is tangled. When they tangle like that, that's usually a bad sign because that means we have some level of rotation, which is always exciting. So here on Brian Phillips RC, we'd like to keep you in tune with the weather. Since this will be an evergreen video, it'll be super productive. All right, so we have the picture, we have AS3X displayed, off, and safe. You can't hear over the thunder.
AS3X mode off. Safe mode.
So she'll say it audibly with the switch condition change, okay? And it also says the name and the model number as well as the voltage on our pack, or excuse me, the voltage on the transmitter, okay? So now what do we need to do first? We're gonna do rates and expo. Okay, so ailerons, I like to set my expo up to all to switch F. You could split them out if you want. We have plenty of switches on this setup, but I like to start with 5 and then 10 for the middle. That's where we start. And then 20. And we drop the rate down to 90. Okay, so that's for ailerons. Okay, so you have, right there's the middle, you have halving effect and a doubling effect. So it'll be the most sensitive up here, meaning you have the lowest expo. That'll be the middle, and that'll be the most deadening due to expo, and rates will also reduce. So the sticks will be the least sensitive there. I like to start in the center, that gives me somewhere to get back to the ground with, okay? Okay, you need to get that. So then we're gonna go to elevator. Highlight this, toggle the switch, exercise the switch. 5, then 10, then 20. Okay, so that's our middle setting. Same thing on the elevator. Then we're going to do the same thing on the rudder. So the 3 primary control surfaces are all going to be expoed up the same amount for each of the conditions. Now, the idea is that when you fly it on the maiden flight, if you really feel like it's too touchy or too twitchy, then you can go in and make an adjustment to help you get to the ground by going with more. Or if it's not touchy enough to get to the ground, then you can go with less. And then when you get to the ground, you make that your middle setting and do a half and a doubling effect from wherever you end up after your maiden, okay? Remember, that's gonna be true for all 3 channels because I have them all tied to one switch, okay? Pretty simple stuff. Throttle cut, of course, you wanna turn that on, highlight that, exercise switch H in this case. So down here, you can see that the throttle is at -100 and it's still at -100 regardless of where the throttle is, this being a mode 2 setup. Okay, when I turn off the throttle hold, then you can tell it goes up and down. Now you can also require a low stick on startup. I don't worry about that because I'm really disciplined on using my throttle cut. So throttle cuts on, that's why I say it constantly while we're filming. Throttle cuts on, throttle cuts on, throttle cuts on. It's annoying, but the truth is I'm just trying to protect my hands because I need these things to do this stuff, okay?
Yes.
And all of my day job stuff too. Okay, so throttle cut's taken care of. Flap system we're gonna attach to switch B, highlight, exercise switch B. We'll set the speed to 2 seconds. Sometimes on bigger planes, I like to go a little bit longer than 2 seconds, but we're not gonna set anything to anything, but we don't know where it's gonna be. So what I'm gonna do is I will go ahead and set it to 0, 0, 0. The only problem is you gotta be careful is like on Spectrum, 0 is the center of the range. 100 is here, -100 is here, +150 is here, and plus or -150 is here. So you basically have variability starting from 0. So your flaps are gonna start in the half down condition, okay? Some models, you could overdrive a servo into itself and damage it, so just be a little bit careful there. On this model, it's foam, it's not gonna be a big problem. But if you had a balsa wood plane, you could actually break a servo, okay? We've never done that before, but good Lord, it is raining hard. I don't know if you guys can see this, but up there on that window, when it blows in hard like that, that means it's really coming down. So, and we know it's super loud and obnoxious, so we're gonna check weather and come back. Okay guys, so we're just checking the weather, and I told you, it got dark, like nighttime dark.
But it's not.
That's the sun. The sun is still out, so the clouds are breaking right now. But that is so crazy to be able to see the tree line coming out of the darkness. And
I see the sheets of rain coming down. Can we go up front? Or
we might be able to. I don't know. You want to try?
Onto the front porch.
I don't know if we can open this door. We'll see. Yeah, she's getting kind of wet.
Yeah.
You guys see what I'm talking about? It went to pitch dark, nighttime dark, and that's what I'm talking about. Crazy weather. And you can kind of see the trees blowing in the wind. This is what we do when it gets bad weather. Everybody in Iowa just goes outside, hangs out. That's pretty much what we do.
You can tell it's raining hard when it's wet up here on the porch.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
And then the lightning close, of course. Yeah, we're gonna go in just to get out of the rain. But so just checking on the weather. We've got kids. Kids get scared. Camper crews get scared.
Just
dads go outside. Well, they go outside.
I go outside too.
They go outside too. Okay, so now that we have the radio set up part to the point where we know where everything is plugged in, we basically are stalled on flap setup until we get to the next step. Now we can go back and back. Oh, I guess we could set a timer, but the timer's not really gonna be super critical because we'll have telemetry voltage. So let's just do a countdown timer, 5 minutes, and let's activate it. I'm sure we're gonna get a lot more than 5 minutes.
I think you're gonna ignore that forever.
I know, but at least we'll have a timer started because then we'll know what to tell the people. So at 1 minute, we want probably a voice, and then we want nothing at 20 seconds. So we'll just scroll all the way to the left. At 10 seconds, I want tone and vibrate. Excuse me, I want voice countdown. And then at expiration, I want tone and vibrate with the tone every minute thereafter. So walk back out. So that gets us our basic functions. Now we can scroll over one. You can see throttle, aileron, elevator, rudder, and gear as well as flaps, so we know where to land things. Channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4, channel 5, channel 6. Okay, so we finally got a text message from the Mid-American Energy who provides our power, saying that our power is out. Yes, we are using our backup batteries. So you can see the little red X there, and then whatever he's doing over there. So I'm gonna take a second and see if I can find the chart, because I know I tempted you with it and didn't show it, but it's very cool. We don't lose power. 1/64th of a second. The time it takes for the sine wave to change, and we see the lights flicker usually. And the only annoying part is we will sometimes lose. The coffee maker has a crappy clock on it, and we will lose the clock, so it doesn't always start on time the next day.
And sometimes sometimes the lights don't even go off, but we have battery backups on our computers and we hear them click.
There we go. Look at this. Now we can see. Now we can see this one little green thing. There it is.
We're on.
The battery backup.
Yep.
So, and part of our interconnect agreement with our public utility is that we have to be off for at least 7 minutes. So if I went out and shut off the knife switch on the house, then the battery keeps running. So when people talk about, oh my God, you have so many batteries, your house is gonna burn down, don't worry, you're not looking at the 900 pounds of batteries downstairs, which are lithium iron phosphate, and they're supposed to be safe. We haven't burned down just quite yet, but as you can see, this is why we have it, because when we film, we need to keep filming. All right, IRS, we proved it to you now. All right, so that being said, we know where the actual things need to go: throttle, aileron, elevator, rudder, gear, and flaps. All right, so we can take the receiver out. Of course, we're gonna have to deal with antennas, which is, you know, I mean, these are big antennas. They're gonna go back this direction. I wanna have all my plugs go on the bottom here, okay? So we have rudder next. So rudder is gonna be on channel 2, right?
No, rudder is gonna be on 1, 2, 3, 4.
4, okay. So why did I grab that first? Probably because it's the first one I touched. So they are marked here. So we'll just go over to port 4. So weird, see the trees again. So I'm just sliding these labels back as we go. And then flaps will go to channel what?
6.
6, okay. So slide this back, the black just needs to go down. And yes, this is a little bit short on wires, but you could cut this and get a little bit more length if you wanted. Okay, so it looks like elevator.
3.
Channel 3, so it's gonna go over by the rudder, white going up, ailerons, and now the frogs.
2.
Are you hearing the frogs?
Yeah, I can hear them. I don't know if they'll be
They're
able to hear
so loud. They think it's night all of a sudden. Okay, so now that's plugged in, another lightning strike over there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so ESC, aileron, elevator, rudder, and then a skip, because we didn't do anything on channel 5, there's no retract, and then of course flaps. Now, you could reorganize those if you decided you wanted to reorganize them, and that's fine, and then the system will take care of the management of all the pitch, roll, and yaw, but it's kind of a pain. I would just use the way it is designed, okay? All right, so now that we've done that, we can actually come back to the radio setup in uno momento, because right now our next move needs to be, we need to mount this eventually, okay? Now, we could try to control these cables a little better by separating that so that we can bring this zip tie over to the wall. And I think we're probably gonna have to do that. I did a bad job on that zip tie because we need to move it inboard a little bit. Don't you think?
You're said antennas go back and then you're gonna mount it on the side.
And now the sun's back out over there.
Well, I don't know about that, but yes.
So weird. I'm gonna move it over. So because where they tied it from the factory, it's gonna cause a little bit of a compromise. I'm just gonna fix the compromise by clipping this, okay? Okay, just be super careful that you don't cut your cables when you do that, okay? So now that I've separated that, lightning on both sides of the house, so strange. See, this wire could be tucked back there just to get it out of the way if we want, or we can tie it in a different spot like up here, okay? So if we tie it up here, then that'll allow us to get away from this contact point here, okay? So that's what we're gonna do now. Guys, cable management is totally, you know, an optional subjective thing. You could just slob it in there if you want, and that's totally fine. We see a lot of people do that, and we see a lot of people crash a lot of planes because of radio disconnects and all this crap. You wanna know how many times I've lost radio signal in the whole time I've flown? I can think of maybe 3 times.
I think 2.
And one of them, I had an ultra micro with an antenna that was broke off at the board. Obviously not gonna work. Range went down to like almost nothing, maybe 20 feet. And then another time I had a straight up total loss. I was on some dang good piece of crap receiver, some Redcon or some garbage. And I had it in L39. It was super fast, really fun plane. I wish I would have kept that plane. And I still have the crash damage.
I'm sure you do.
I stole a servo out of it the other day. I have a box of dead planes I keep for servos.
Yep.
And servo parts mostly. But then I know we had somebody that ordered a brand new plane here, and they got an Aero Scout, and he ordered it for his kid ahead of his arrival for a birthday present, and he had problems. And I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. So they had a bunk receiver, but that wasn't even mine.
Right.
So very unusual, very rare, but I'm gonna tell you where a lot of it probably comes from is cable management. Guys, if you put a bunch of pressure on these and it yanks the cable out, then you can't blame the receiver, okay? Well, I mean, you can, it just would be ignorant. So I wouldn't recommend doing that. Okay, so took all that down, make it nice. And then this is gonna ultimately go like a deck. It's gonna look beautiful. And actually I can go way back, beautiful. I love it. Still get to the bind button. Nice square symmetry there. I like it. We'll have to deal with the antennas. One of them is going to just go get tucked back. The other one's probably going to go the other way. You realize you can't take that spot, right?
I know, but I can show them for a second while you're getting what you're getting.
So the camera crew is usually quite thoroughly aware of where I need to stand because I have to reach everything. So I'm going to use glue, China glue. If you have mucilage, that's also fine. It'd work fine, okay? So all I like to do, now I used to use double-sided tape and I just got to the point where I'm like, why am I using double-sided tape? There's no reason. We've had perfect luck with this. We've never had one that broke free ever.
Nope.
Guys, ever, okay? So just slather a thick bead on there and you do it just like you're gluing a wing onto your plane or a horizontal stabilizer or whatever. It's the exact same process. The only difference is if you have kind of an irregular surface, you might need that foam tape just to make up for the thickness of the indisparity or imperfection. Now, remember, if you decide to move this, all you have to do is pull it off of the glue. You'll be able to break it off. It just will be challenging, okay? But that's okay because it's challenging to rip through double-sided tape, just maybe not quite as challenging. So now that we have pressed that onto the wall, I'm actually gonna pull this out. I'm gonna use my finger to slather a little bit more. Yep, I feel good contact. I feel lots of glue, and you can see my finger is nice and wet from the glue. So I'm just gonna rub my finger on my hand to get that little teeny bit of residue off. One of my favorite things about China glue is you can do that. Now, if you put a huge slather on there, it's gonna be a mess. And if you ever get into a problem where you can't get it off of there, it's pretty hot when you do that. The chemical reaction's fast. You can use CA Kicker, will break that stuff down, and it'll wipe right off, and then you can use a paper towel to get your fingers totally clean. Something you can't do with CA. Now you could CA that thing in too, but like I said, CA is expensive and it's brittle. This stuff will stay rubbery and it will be really nice, okay? So just let that set up for a few seconds. Once it's set up, you can slide your receiver back into the hole and park it right where you want it to be. You'll notice that my wires are in the glue a little bit, no big deal. Any of the strings, while I wait, I'm just gonna peel off. Now, one of the next steps we're gonna be doing is we're gonna have to actually physically mount our linkages for both the elevator and the rudder, okay? But before that, toothpick time.
Of course.
Why do we need a toothpick? Well, we need a toothpick so we can, of course, mount our antennas.
Right.
Because that's one way you can do it. Now, there's a million ways to skid this cat. It's the way I like to do it. Take a pair of forceps with a bent tip, and then I will bite on to something like this. And then I have a penetration tool that I can penetrate the foam and make a pocket, but I can get back where I need to get. Depending on the angle, sometimes I gotta flip it around, so we'll just start with this and we'll lay this off to the side. And now that glue should be set up enough to slide it back and stick it in place, okay? So I slide it back and stick it in place. And you're like, but Brian, what if you have to change your wires? Well, it might be a bit of a pain in the butt, but I'm pretty sure you can handle it once. What about serviceability, Brian? You were talking about serviceability. Yeah, I get it, okay. So then this one can go back here. And remember, this canopy, the way that it mounts into this plane, there is only a minimal amount of penetration here, okay? There's also a pocket here to receive potentially where a battery could go, but it looks like that probably wasn't real well thought through because look what they have in the place where that battery would have been.
Right.
If this was in fact for a battery. I don't think it was, okay? The other thing too is if you decide to put a pilot in here, you'll have to carve out, but it is a manageable amount. It's not a super thick bottom, okay? I think Queen made a song about that. Okay, so if you want to put this in here, you can do that. I'm actually just going to go right here into this foam, just keeping in mind that there is an assembly that's probably penetrating into this. So I'm going to try to keep this tight, and I'm going to go up at a very slight angle and just press in, push it until it doesn't go no more. Pull this out, and then I'm just going to follow into the hole with my antenna, just like this, until it gets to where it stops. Now, I'm actually going to go deeper because that worked really handy on this one. So I'm going to just do this again, clamp onto it. I'm going to go a little deeper, see if I can get further penetration, because that'll make for a really nice little pocket for storage, okay? So you can see I'm just supporting and pressing with my thumb against it. And I don't have to worry about hitting any wires or anything because the wires are passing way back here. And then I'll just slide this in so that it goes in all the way back until it bottoms out, and then we can just put a little bit of glue on there, or we can tape it on for now. So now diversity antenna like to be at 90 degrees of each other, so this one would go broadside or vertical. So in this case, I don't know that there's like a better versus the other, but it would be kind of nice if I could stick that right into an antenna socket right there and get close to a vertical right there. That'd be really nice if I could make the angle. I just don't know if I can make the angle. Let's see if I can make the angle first, okay? So you see I'm holding it at this funny angle. 28 millimeters of active antenna is what you're gonna see exposed here. So I just need to make sure I have enough penetration. I'm gonna have to break this, but I'm only gonna break part of it off, okay? It's like, I know I just wasted a toothpick. I get it, guys.
Don't worry, he'll use it for something else.
Okay, so now I'm gonna go like this, and I just kind of aim it. I'm gonna go up there and just directionally bore into the foam, and not quite at 90 degrees, but I'm pretty darn close. And then I'm just gonna adjust my tool down to reach at the bottom there. And then I'm just gonna follow into the same hole and let it guide itself in and just go up like that. Very good. Nice little pocket. Then I can take this antenna, find this little memory on it from the way it was packaged. Now, you don't want to bend where the coax releases, and you definitely don't want to clamp on here, but I am going to hold it like this. You see this? I'm not clamping at all. I'm just simply holding it. So I'm going to hold up here very carefully, keep pressure off of that weak point there. See how I'm kind of feeding in, paying out a little bit of cable as I go in, paying out a little bit of cable. Guys, I've seen people that do some nasty, nasty stuff to their cables, and I am like, how does your antenna survive? Okay, so you'll notice that I only have about that much penetration, and I think I need to go a little bit deeper. So I'm actually gonna go backward this time, and that's gonna buy me a little bit more depth. So I gotta go like this. So hold it like this. That's why the bent tips are so nice. So I can just follow into the hole and just ream it opened a little bit more. Just gotta make sure I go into the right hole. You go into the wrong hole, I get you in trouble, guys. Okay, you see, now it's bottoming out. So there you go. So now I can get a little bit more. Pull that out. That's as far as I can go. Just like, yeah, I should be able to easily get that all the way in. Okay. So we'll see if we can do this. You can bend it down here very carefully. You just don't want to kink it. Okay. Oh yeah. That feels pretty good there. Okay. So now that that's in, now all I have to do is just manage these cables into a place where they're going to be out of the way and less vulnerable, not invulnerable, but less vulnerable. You also notice that I'm kind of out a ways from the edge because of the way I entered the foam. That's fine, it shouldn't be an issue because the way that this canopy locks in here, it's got a flat face, so it's gonna be flat along here. We don't have to worry about it going down here and cutting it off when the canopy goes into its home position, okay? So you just gotta think about those couple of variables as you make your decisions on the way that that fits. All right, so that being said, now we can take all these antennas And they are antenna, not antennae. Antennae would be on an animal, I was told by some level of expert. And antennas are what you have on machinery and equipment, or in this case, an aircraft. So that's kind of cool. So pull back a little bit of slack on the second one so that they're the same length. And you see it's pulled out the active portion. We want the active portion totally buried for protection reasons, okay? So once I get this flat, I'm gonna glue it and tape it. And when I say glue it and tape it, I'll show you exactly what I mean. It's a very simple process. If you have a really good tape, you can just use tape. If you have a really crappy tape, you can use glue and tape. Glue and tape, I get a piece of tape and then I get a little bit of glue. And the only reason I use both is because then that kind of holds it doubly. This is like the China glue ad today.
Yeah, I don't know why you keep putting it away.
Well, I keep putting it away, genuinely thinking I'm done with it, but I'm obviously not. Okay, so just I applied a little bit to my finger, and I'm just gonna pull these wires back and apply it to the side that I want to secure. And then I'm just gonna apply it to the side that I want to secure, okay? It doesn't need to be like super gluey, but it needs to be enough that it's gonna hold it. Then I'm just gonna take a piece of tape, very simple, press it into the side here, and you'll see that that will more or less hold it in place. But again, I'm trying to protect these cables for a reason. It's not because it's not an issue that doesn't need to be concerned about. As a pilot, we do wanna protect these leads, okay? More so than the leads that go to each of the servos. Sometimes I cut a sliver out of the side of the foam and tuck it into a pocket, but I'm not gonna be able to protect it on the exit, so that's what I'm gonna do instead, okay? And then that'll hold those on the side of the aircraft. We've seen that in bind and flies a lot. They'll mount them that way. There's a million ways you can skin that cat, folks, but you just wanna try to get those antennae so that they're at close to 90 degrees of each other, 90 degrees of each other, 90 degrees of each other. Doesn't matter what 90 degrees of each other they are, it's three-dimensional space, okay? And then when we load and unload the battery, don't have to worry about having some sort of a failure because we hit that every time, okay? All right, so now that that's all installed, we can go ahead and fire up the plane. Now, one thing we could do is we could mark the CG and get the battery figured out. I think we should size it in with this. Okay. You wanna try that first? So we've got our Velcro kind of touching loose, and I'm just gonna slip this in. Now, my only concern about this is that that hot spot is right there. But the problem is over here, we've got our bind button right about where the lead's gonna come out. Now, you can press that. You have to press it within so many seconds of firing for it to actually, you know, do binding. So I think I'm gonna just go with, we'll just kind of like position it sort of centrally right now and see if that's close enough. We'll see what the CG looks like offhand. I am really thinking, I just don't want that. I want that around the wire. I don't want that around the wire. I want that on the other side of the wire. Don't you think?
Yes.
Because it's just driving me nuts. Okay, so I'm gonna just reach from under with my forceps. I don't know why it wasn't that way from the factory, but maybe it was and it just shook free or something, I don't know. Just stuff like that drives me nuts. Okay, there it is. But full disclosure, this is pretty good compared to a lot of planes that we've seen in the past. So on this one, I'm just gonna actually pull from the top. And you see it kind of, it's slacked on me. If you guys have problems with that, what I like to do is sometimes I'll hold the battery, okay, with the Velcro off to the side, and then I do that, and then that holds it tight, and then you can just let go. Sometimes you don't have enough slack to feed it through that hole, and other times you do have enough slack to feed it through the hole, but I found that it's not a guarantee that that's the easier method, right? It depends on how it sits in the plane, and it depends on how the plane is sit on a stand, or if it's on a table, or if you're trying to like balance it in the air. This would be a slightly more secure. It's gonna be less likely to come undone than this, okay? So.
Phone is at 15.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna put that in there. Now, full disclosure, this balance lead is not hooked to anything yet, and it probably won't get hooked to anything, but this will eventually get plugged in. Look where my arms are, go back a little bit. If this were to start, it would cut me. So I don't want to do that until I am confident that I have everything settled, okay? So what I'm gonna do is, we've never had an engine or a motor, excuse me, start without having the binding procedure done or any of that. So there is a certain amount of risk that you take by having the prop on there. If you can't handle the risk, do one of two things. Take the spinner off, take the mount off, or take off the blades if you're concerned. I'm not concerned, I'm not worried. Just take note of what direction they go so you get it on there the right way when you are ready to replace the prop. Now the other thing is we're gonna bind, okay? So throttle cut's on, throttle stick is down. I'm gonna walk out of the monitor, I'm gonna clear the timer, I'm gonna scroll down, I'm gonna click and scroll down in the function list and just make sure there's nothing else I'm missing. Yeah, we don't have anything, but we'll be ready to bind. Disconnect RF and it's ready. So now I'm gonna reach around like this and plug this in just for safety reasons, give us the best crack at success. Plugging it in. Now I'm gonna press the bind button. Camera crew is gonna get in a spot where you can see the flashy lights here. Okay, so the light's flashing. Camera crew and I are going to protect ourselves by not being in front of the prop. The prop is clear in case it would start. It's not going to start, but just to be on the safe side. I'm gonna go to bind. Okay, so it's connected. It's gonna start. Okay. So now this is where it would start running the motor if there was a problem. So I have held on to the plane and I'm being patient while it auto configs. Is it done auto configuring yet?
Now it is.
Okay, so auto config is done. So now that it's started, I'm gonna roll left, roll right, elevator up, elevator down, yaw left, yaw right. We don't know what direction because they're not hooked up yet, but takeoff flaps, landing flaps have not been set. So what I'm gonna do now is while I can, I'm going to make sure my throttle hold is on, throttle stick, it's working. So the throttle hold's working, throttle hold is now off, or throttle cut is off. We'll give some throttle. We have forward thrust and throttle hold works. And you can also tell that there's braking because this doesn't spin free, which is great. We don't even have to turn that feature on. Throttle cut is on, throttle stick is now tested as being down. So our next move is we're gonna go ahead and work on the plane with it facing this way so that we can see what's going on, okay? So the first thing I wanna do is set flaps. So we'll scroll down to the flap system. We'll check we're in regular flight mode right now. So this is either gonna go up or down. So it's going up, so we wanna be in the positive range. So I'm gonna go to 100. Yeah, so we're not quite all the way seated, that's fine. Now takeoff flaps. We'll go down a little bit less than that. So as you can see, I wanna be about 50 right now. And then landing flaps, it's gonna be in the negative range. Whoops. See how it's kind of jumping around? My scrolly wheel is just kind of starting to give me a lot of trouble on this transmitter. So I want to go, but I don't want to overdrive the servos and damage something. And I'm just watching as I go so I don't overdrive it. So I'm going really slow here. Because if I hear it stop moving, then I know we're not okay, okay? Yeah, it's looking like I might be getting close to running out of throw. So I'll just look up here. Man, it's really hard to tell inside of that pocket. I just literally can't see. So I'm gonna go all the way to minus 100. And I'm just watching to see if it starts. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, so we're good. So now I want to get this to park all the way up here. So the way we got to do that is we're going to jump back into servo setup and we're going to go into flap, and with it in takeoff flap or regular flight mode, I'm going to go from 100 up. Jeez. I'm gonna have to clean the scrolly wheel again. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna go to 125. You see how it's just jumping around? It's got a mind of its own right now. Do you guys see what's going on there? There's 125. That's probably about where we need it. So now takeoff flaps, landing flaps. Okay, so takeoff flaps. Okay, we're gonna take a second and clean the scrolly wheel. All right, so we just got done fixing the scrolly wheel. So as you can see, when you click, you can scroll now and you can scroll back and forth. And the way we've done this a number of times, we've shown this on the channel a number of times. We use this 97 or 91% isopropyl alcohol. This is like a medical grade. It's just cheap, costs like $3 at Walmart. And we use a rag. You can see those black marks on it. We just kind of soak it on there and then just rub it and move it back and forth a bunch. And then sometimes we take a Q-tip to it. And it seems to help quite a bit. It doesn't always totally restore it to 150%, you know, like what you're expecting, but it's at least good enough to work. Okay, so where we left off was in servo setup. We were playing with that flap setting, okay? So you can see now things are working nicely. At 125, you can see it goes down, it goes up, okay, everything's fine. So what we're gonna do is we have to make the flaps work so that they go all the way up and all the way down. Okay, so I have to plug this back in. Throttle cut is on. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna finish the radio setup, okay? So obviously once this boots, throttle cuts on, throttle sticks down. You can see on the monitor it's at minus 100, okay? So obviously we have takeoff flaps here, we have landing flaps. Step back here, please. So you can see the deflection. The deflection is going to be dictated by this. This is, if you want to do what the manual says, this is what they want. So they want minus 10 millimeters for takeoff flaps and minus 22 for full landing flaps. Now I'm just going to go with, it's good enough to do what you want, okay? But that's what the manual suggests, okay? They've obviously done a little research to figure out what they like, but just keep in mind, I have 125% here. I can highlight that and move it slightly, up or down. See, down or up. I want to get that thing so it's nice and flush. And so right at 125 seems to be the sweet spot. We do find that to be a sweet spot a lot of times on FMS models and non-E-flight bind and flies, because the E-flight tends to run to 100 plus and 100 minus, but a lot of times FMS and off-brand, off-E-flight offerings will run as much as 150%, okay, to get full deflection. But the reason I tell you that is because I didn't have to overdrive on the bottom sweep. But if you want to, you can also do that a little bit. And it does look like it's gonna bring it down just a little bit more. So I'll go to 125 up and down, okay? So then when I roll back down into flaps system, you can see we're at 100, then 50, then minus 100. Now I'm gonna set up a little bit of elevator correction. You can't see the elevator move, so I'm just gonna go with, let's call it 3%, or let's do 4% and 6. Okay, and we just wanna make sure it goes down, so we'll have to double check that here in a minute. But we also have to make sure we're out of flaps so that we don't have an elevator correction for our manual setting, because when we first physically install this stuff, we wanna make sure that it's in the right position, okay? So that's our next big move, is we have to install these control arms or control horns, and that is going to give us our ball link. It's on a swivel. Hold this, work it a few times. No matter what position it's in, it doesn't matter. Just work it a couple of times. The reason we're doing that is because it makes it a lot easier once it's on there. Okay, so just work it a couple of times in and a couple times out. Make sure that you're not right on the end of the threads, okay? Now this does have an octagonal drive on the end if you want to use like a little crescent wrench or a little box end wrench. I have a wrench set that would work for that, like it's like a jeweler's wrench set is what they call it, I think. But I do not know what hole it's supposed to be in. Now the reason I don't know what hole it's supposed to be in is because they don't tell us, okay? They just tell you how much deflection they expect, okay?
Okay.
So because they don't tell us, we have to figure it out, all right? So obviously this is gonna move the rudder, and the rudder is obviously going to have this one because that's way too long, so that's clearly not correct. I'm gonna go with, if they have this on the inboard portion like that they probably want quite a bit of rudder. They're suggesting on the rudder, just so you know, that you have 60 millimeters of deflection, okay? I don't know how to dictate 60 millimeters of deflection. I'm gonna go to the outside most hole. I'm gonna turn this 90 degrees and I'm just gonna I'm gonna just try to get this lined up perfectly. Now on this control surface, come around here please. You're gonna have to basically put it on there and see when it's close, and then hold your finger down on it and see how much deflection you get. Now you see this? It's gonna overdrive into that frame, okay? See? So we can't go to the outermost hole. It's gonna cause it to bind itself. So I'm gonna go in probably 2 holes, okay? And then I'm gonna turn that in, turn this square, and just hold this. So what you have to do is you have to sight down here, because imagine this seam here is the halves of the plane. So when they build this at the factory, they put them together. So that gives you a nice center line, and then you have to kind of eyeball this, okay? There's not like a really obvious way to do it. The other way you can look is you can look at the tip of the wing here on the elevator. It's not even hooked up yet. You can see if you're lined up. I'm favoring just a little bit to the right. So I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna pull it in half a turn, another half a turn, and see, now we're pulling the other direction. So I'm gonna go half a turn back out, and then I'm gonna just hold it over the ball link, okay? Now with it held over the ball link, just manually held, I'm gonna actuate. Good, we're not binding, and good, we're not binding. Okay, if I went to the inside hole, I don't think I'd get enough movement. I wanna see if I can go one more hole out for more action, but I think it's gonna bind, so we'll see if that works. So I think we're gonna be in the second hole out from the inside. This is now the third hole. Let's see how it feels, okay? Ooh, that's good. And it just hits a little bit at the very end of stroke. I kind of like that. I like having a ton of rudder authority on a sailplane. So regardless of what they call out, I want more. So I'm gonna go for the third hole. You might wanna go to the second hole if you don't want any binding, but let's recheck. Looks like we're not quite lined up here. We're just barely inboard. I wanna go that way. Well, not inboard, it's in the center of the plane. So I'm gonna go out half a turn. See, half a turn. Could you see that? I can't tell what you're looking at. So there's half a turn. Now hold it on top. You can see we're dang close. If we're not perfect, we're probably favored over just a hair. Let's see if we do one more half. So my clues I'm looking at this shape, and I'm lining that up as much as I can, and then I'm looking at this alignment here, okay? So now I'm gonna hold that tight. It's still pulled over this way, isn't it? I must have gone the wrong way. There's 2 halves pulling it out. Man, that's tough to say. That's got to be really dang close. What do you think?
If anything, you went, it's a lot closer now.
So I'm going to go in half a turn. Let's see. If anything, what?
Then it'll go too far the other way.
That's centered. I think that's centered. No, it's not. It's got to come out half. That's really close. Okay, so that's what we're doing. I'm making the executive decision. It's close enough, and it's not gonna make a huge difference one way or the other, because you can trim some of it out, okay? After all, it doesn't have to be perfect in order to fly the plane, because you do have trim ultimately that will work. Now, if you don't have one of these tools, you don't absolutely need them to snap these on. This is a ball link tool. This is the type of thing that we'll have on the supplies tab if you go to bprc.me/supplies, okay? And then you can just snap this down. Oops. Sometimes this works better in certain angles, depends on the aircraft. Okay, so that pops it on, okay? Makes it really easy. Now I'm gonna recheck. Now also I just wanna point this out. It's going the wrong direction, okay? So the first thing I'll do real quick while we're thinking about it, servo setup, travel, go over to reverse, and we'll reverse rudder. Make sure it doesn't change the absolute position. Sometimes it does, okay? Y'all left, y'all right, okay? Very good. So now elevator, same thing. I'm probably, at this moment, I'm gonna flip the plane over, and just so I don't accidentally get into the plane stand in a weird angle, I'm gonna go ahead and put the canopy on. We'll slide this thing back so we can close the lid, make sure we're not gonna hit anything, okay? So that's a big plane, so don't whack lights on your ceiling or anything like that. So we're gonna just flip this upside down so it's easy to lay down. I'm gonna hang the tail over because the tail is actually a little bit, am I hitting something?
Nope.
I'm not, okay.
You're not.
So we should be good to check the elevator now. Just keep in mind, don't have your flaps out because we did a flap to elevator correction, okay? So just so you know, the manual suggests a certain amount of deflection on the elevator. This is one where they're calling for 11 to 18. So on high rates, it'd be 18 millimeters of deflection. And that's at, I don't really understand exactly I think they actually have a gauge you can buy for that. We've never used one. I've never had one. I've never needed it. Not in my opinion, at least. Okay, so I'm gonna slide this in, and then I'm trying to figure out how the heck I'm gonna do this, because once I slide this in, I'm assuming I'm probably gonna have to do it this way. So I'm gonna go to like the last hole out just to see how much the deflection is. And we're not even worried about centering it just quite yet. We're gonna do that in a second here. But let's see what kind of movement we get on full elevator. So that's the correct direction. And that's the correct direction. And yeah, we actually have a pretty good amount of clearance. That feels pretty dang good. I might just go with that. But I wanna see if we're square. And the only way to check is to just kind of look down the length of it. I feel like I need to come out half a turn. Now remember, if you have to defer somewhere on a sailplane, you don't want to defer way elevator down so it like shoots into the ground when you hand launch it. You don't want it to fall into the ground, okay? So if you're going to defer to up elevator just slightly, but you don't want to go crazy because it'll stall the plane too. So when you go to launch, I would rather have it go up just a tiny bit than go straight down into the ground and crash, okay? But there is a happy medium. You want to try to hit the balance where it's just going to go straight, okay? Of course, you're going to be actively flying it. That feels like that's pretty dang close. If I go out another half a turn, see, I just turn it like that. Make sure that you're square on your control clevis. Hold that in tight, and then get your head down there and just look down the length of it. And I feel like it's pretty close.
Seems really close.
I don't know that we're going to get a whole lot closer on just, you know, eyeballing it, because there isn't like a really great reference, okay? So this thing is supposed to hold into the back side of the screw, and then you can straddle the ball link just like that. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This particular tool is not great because it's real thick here and real thick here. So when this is collapsed, I want that to be about as thick as that, okay? Makes it a lot easier to get in and release the ball links. That's what these are really helpful for.
Yeah.
But that being said, I'm comfortable with the way it's working. It is strong, and so we have tools like it. I don't even know if we linked to that exact tool, but we linked to one like it.
Yeah.
Okay. That was sent to us by one of the friends of the channel over the years. I think that was Grumpy John. Mm-hmm. Wonder if he's alive still.
I don't know.
Okay, so we're gonna flip this over. If you're alive, Grumpy, let us know.
I haven't seen him in a while.
Haven't seen him in a while, but he might not be here. Anyway, long story short, guys, probably can't talk about that one publicly.
Probably not.
But we'll put this back down. I like to finish setup with the plane pointed this direction, but because of our sink, we don't want to hit it with our wing, okay? Now, when I check control surfaces, first thing I do is I walk out of the menu, make sure everything is set. Elevator up, elevator down. Roll left, roll right, very obvious. Excuse me, yaw left, yaw right, sorry guys. Roll left, roll right. And you guys can hear the pinch hinge, and it's really kind of resistant on the end here, so you may have to kind of work this up on the first couple of movements. Now remember, we didn't have to build any of this wing, so you haven't had the opportunity to exercise that at all. So at minimum, exercise it a little bit before you go to fly, okay? Camera crew. So takeoff flaps, landing flap. Oops, excuse me. Takeoff flaps, landing flaps, okay? That's a huge amount of flap, by the way. So now I want to go back into flap system, and I want to exaggerate this correction to see that the elevator is going down. It's very hard to tell. So how do I tell? I highlight that 6 and I go way down. Yep, it's going down, okay? So you can see it's going down. I just want to make sure it's going the right direction. That's the key. So I don't want that to be 22%. I just want it to be the correct direction. So if that was -6, then you would see the elevator would go up. But that minus, the polarity, whether it's plus or minus, is not necessarily clear on every plane, okay? Because it depends on the way the servo is mounted in the plane, okay? All right, so elevator up, elevator down, very fast acting servos, roll left, roll right, yaw left, yaw right. So we have all the control surfaces working the right direction. We haven't checked CG yet. We're gonna check CG now because that'll be the last mechanical and build portion of this video, and then we finish it up with, okay, out of the flaps. We finish it up with forward programming so we can get AS3X and safe turned on. Now, normally when we do this, we go strictly by the manual because center of gravity is, after all, designed into the plane. So that's 50 to 60 millimeters from the leading edge, which is pretty square on this plane, should be pretty easy to find. I'm gonna use this red marker, or excuse me, black marker, but you could use a red marker. You don't even have to mark it, technically, okay? So I'm just gonna make sure we're zeroed when we start, and I'm gonna go to 55, and then I'm gonna go to 60. So I'm just gonna set it to 55 millimeters, thereabout, set that. Come back here from the leading edge. I wanna be kind of square to the plane, and I'm just gonna make a little dent. I'm gonna go halfway between my decal just so it looks nice. Make a little dent. Same thing halfway from the Avios, and I'm just gonna make a dent. Now you can see I'm kind of having to ballpark this a little bit because, you know, these aren't long enough to make up for the difference in height, okay? Unlock this. This has been a really good tool. We've used, I actually had one and then somebody sent me another one. It's Chinese Pittsburgh tools from Harbor Freight. Okay, so that's a 5 millimeter spread there, as you can tell. And so if you're ever in any doubt about your positioning, what you can do is once you've actually marked your center of gravity, then just mark or measure your gap. And so like it's marked as 7, so like whatever, it's close enough. I guarantee you're not gonna know any better. When you check the center of gravity on a plane this size, it's gonna be close enough. Now, why do I darken the holes? I darken the holes because I wanna be able to see, and then I get a nice consistent feel because I always use the same felt markers. Some people probably think that's disgusting, and I kind of appreciate that you might feel that way, but it's my plane and I'm gonna do it that way. And you can do it the way you like. Now, we've done it a number of different ways over the years, and we've made a few mistakes when we first started this, but this is the easiest way. It works really well. We have done it on numerous planes, and it's not that hard to get the center of gravity appropriate for flight. There are people that wanna fly more tail heavy. Wonder if our power just came back on.
I don't know, it might have.
But anyway, full disclosure, when you set up the center of gravity, a tail heavy plane in a sailplane is an application where people do fly planes tail heavy so that you can be going slow and have lots of pitch authority still. I don't really like flying planes tail heavy. Some people like to do a lot of aerobatics and stuff. I do aerobatics with not nose heavy, but like neutrally balanced.
Centered out, yeah.
Yeah. So we have the battery in the tray, and you guys have already seen kind of how it sits. It's basically centered perfectly on the straps as they come out of the box, okay? The straps are fixed. They don't go forward or backward, okay? And so I'm just gonna flip this over. Throttle cut is on, it's been tested. Okay, so now you can see these marks. Now, depending on the plane and the shape, you can test this however you want. I'm gonna put my fingers so that the pad of the middle of my finger is between the holes. On the back hole, it's nose heavy. On the front hole, it's neutral. So it's actually a little bit nose heavy right now. On a sailplane, I'm okay with that because I make it overstable. But if you want to try to balance this plane and make it balanced, this is what you're gonna have to do, okay? You're gonna have to take this battery and you're gonna have to move it back a bit. I'm not gonna say that that's a big problem, but I'm just gonna show you what I can do. Just loosen this, pull that loose, restrap it, lift this up. If you guys don't know how to do this, pull this up, let that strap stick down again, and you remember I put the shelf liner in there so you can't just slip it. So slide it back, and you can see we're back to where we're off of that heat sink, and that's the reason why I'm okay with moving this a little bit, okay? So now remember, this is a 4,000 milliamp 4S, so if you decided to go to a bigger battery, you're gonna have to move it back further. If you go to a smaller battery, you're gonna have to move it forward further to maintain the same center of gravity balancing point. And what I like to do is once I figure out where the battery is gonna sit for my maiden flight, then I will also mark that on the rim of the canopy, okay? The reason I do that is because it makes it very easy to replicate the center of gravity. And you're like, but Brian, you just marked the center of gravity. That's true, because if I change battery types, I wanna be able to change on the fly, pun intended, okay? So now the other thing is you can balance the plane like this, but I like to get neutrally. So like that tail is part of the plane, it can go upside down. A lot of times I balance planes upside down. A lot of times I balance them upright. It just depends on the model and how it's designed, okay? Don't get poked in the eyeball by your prop. On the back hole, it's very nose heavy. On the front hole, it's very tail heavy. So that means somewhere between those 5 millimeters, it bounces pretty perfect, okay? But you're also on the crown of the wing, okay? So just keep that all in mind for your considerations. That being said, I'm gonna go ahead and mark that inside the canopy for future consideration. So I would say something like here to here, and that's gonna be a 4,000 milliamp hour 4S. And I like to draw an arrow that indicates the direction that the wires come out. Now, if I were flying on a 3200 smart pack or a 4000 smart pack, there might be a little bit of disparity in weight. You might have to slide those forward because these might be a little bit lighter or heavier. I don't know. Looks like the 4000 is probably, you know, about the same. 3200 should be a little bit lighter. And that's a 50C pack, that's a 30C pack. They call a 40 to 60 on this. So I would say we'll probably have to make sure we do this a 40 to 60C. So 40 to 60C, okay? I'm gonna just mark that down. Now you'll notice that I marked this and I have no problem marking it because it's not gonna hurt anything. The fact that it's marked A, and it's gonna be obviously hidden once we cover up the plane. Now the other thing too is keep in mind, if you decide like, oh, those dots are hideous on the wing. First of all, I don't mind dots on my wings. It's never bothered me. You probably look at that airliner, you can't see them. Look at the Catalina, you can't see them. Look at the Carbon Z Cessna.
T28?
T28, excuse me. I always say it wrong. I don't know why I can't say it right. But yes, it is marked. You can see it from there. But I even have that J3 Cub, it's marked. I don't even notice it, ever.
Nope.
So there's lots of markings on planes, and it's so weird to me that those things just don't, I mean, I won't notice it ever again, except for when I'm talking about it in the video.
Right.
Okay, so we're gonna spin this around, and we're gonna set up forward programming. Now, what is forward programming? If you don't know what that is, that's where you set up AS3X and safe if you're using a Spectrum transmitter. So if you're not using any stabilization, you don't have to do this part at all. So if you use an AR 6610T, then you would still have telemetry, you'd still have barometric, but you wouldn't have AS3X or safe. But it's kind of like a weirdity. I don't think a lot of people do that.
It is a weird one.
Okay, so you're gonna come back over here. Elevator up, elevator down, roll left, roll right, yaw left, yaw right, take off flaps, landing flaps with correction in the correct direction. So all of our surfaces are in the right direction. Why do you think I check that so many times? Because the number one way people fail when they're setting up a sailplane especially, is because you're hand launching it. You're gonna have 0 time to respond, is you're gonna have your aileron switched, okay? So if you are new to the hobby, move the sticks, look where the controls go and mimic what happens. Look, when I move the sticks, the controller should move that way. When I move the sticks, the controller should move this way. Is that what that's gonna do? That's gonna make that wing come up, that's gonna make that wing go down. So yes, it's gonna roll the plane like this. That's gonna make that wing go down, that's gonna make that wing go down. Excuse me, that one's gonna go down, that one's gonna go up. Okay, so just a quick visual, tactile response makes it easier for you to respond. Now, we have 3 modes set up. These are just audio vents and visual representations. They don't actually change the setting. That's what we're gonna do now, is we're gonna actually make the change. I've got this right on the edge of our counter. And so I'm gonna sit down for just a quick second as we do this. And I'm gonna have to get up to tip the plane, just full disclosure. So we're gonna click, we're gonna scroll down to forward programming. You'll notice it's scrolling a million times better now. We should have done that at the beginning. Camera crew actually suggested that, by the way. Gyro settings, first time setup. Okay, set the model level, press continue. This is not where it levels the model. This is where it's distinguishing its position in the plane, because it's spatially aware. Whoops.
You didn't set it on its nose.
I'm sorry. I don't think I double bumped. Okay, set it on its nose, then click continue. Sorry guys, I must have double clicked. Okay, so now set it on its nose.
Do you want me to hit continue?
And yeah, go ahead and hit continue. Okay, so that's the position of the receiver inside of the plane. So let's go ahead and pop the lid and double check. Show the people what it looks like.
So it's saying that.
Camera crew. Show the people. Does that look the same? So, looking at that, does that look correct?
Yep, Spectrum logo is here. Spectrum logo is
and the pins are back
here, and the pins
deep
are
into the plane.
Yep.
So show the people this. So that orientation is correct. Now, that is one check. The other check is going to be that the surfaces move and correct in the right direction. We'll check that here in a minute. Okay, so now that it is spatially aware and we know that we've set that up right, That's called orientation 2. You could also just set that if you don't want to put it up on its nose. Some planes are pretty hard to pick up. Gain channel select. This is where we want to set the gain channel. So I'm going to set it to, highlight this, move the knob. It automatically populates as aux3, which is correct. I'm going to highlight that, or I'm going to acknowledge by clicking, and I'm going to go to next. Then I'm going to apply. Now it's going to reboot. You'll notice the motor's chirping. That's because it's rebooting the receiver. And we have one set of dances. Chip, 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 chip. That's one dance. There'll be two when safe is on. Okay, now I'm going to click. That takes us back into forward programming, gyro settings. Then I can go to first time safe setup. We have to set a flight mode channel. Okay, so now this is the one that we set to switch D. But remember, D is not what we're using. We're using flight mode. Okay, so I'm going to go to that. Next, and this is how you can tell if it's working. I'm going to hit continue. See how it says 1, see how it says 2, see how it says 3. If that number is stuck at 2 or stuck at 3 and it doesn't change when you change your switch, you don't have the assignment between the switch and the channel or the switch and the flight mode, okay? So we're going to go with that. So that's all working. So I want to select the desired flight mode position to adjust settings for each flight mode. Okay, so that's the safe mode. So I'm going to go into that one. Okay, so this is where your plane needs to be level so that we can say, okay, if I'm flying along, this is the direction I want the plane. This is exactly the attitude, both in pitch and roll, I want it to sit, okay? So you have to use your best judgment on what direction you want the plane to fly. Now, do you want this thing to fly at a nose up attitude? Probably not, because it's going to stall itself. Do you want it to fly at a nose down attitude? Maybe, but you don't want it to crash into the ground. So what I like to do is I like to figure on, if I were in a nice glide, what would I be willing to tolerate for downhill traffic? Okay, and you have to remember, you want to penetrate. You don't want to be flying like this, okay? Unless it's some sort of a flying Dorito. What is that John calls them?
Yeah.
The death Doritos. So like if it's a high alpha configuration, you know, like a Delta jet, you might actually do that. But on a normal flight, you're going to want to keep it very level. Okay, so look at that. That's downhill. Can you tell from where you are, or do you need to go over there?
Yeah, I can tell from where.
Why don't you go back a little bit by that cactus. Okay, so tell me when it looks level. I bet this is about level.
That's about right.
Okay, so if I went further, it would point up.
Yep.
You might stall the plane, but if you went back, it's going to be pretty level. And if you wanted to penetrate a little better into the air, then you would go back. I want it to be pretty darn level when I turn safe on. And I also, this is where I just have to kind of use my best judgment to get it square. Remember, it's actually, it is unaware of where it is degrees-wise. It's just aware of where it is. Because like if you were mounted on the inside of your plane, it's your nose of your plane. If you're mounted like this, it's going to take into consideration, this is 0 degrees because you already put it on its nose, okay? That correction is at the level model and capture attitude. That's what we're doing right now. Okay, so it's correcting for any indisparity on that mounting. So if we're mounted flat like this with all the pins back here and we're perfectly plumb, okay, then you're fine. But if you're not plumb, or if you're not plumb, or if you're mounted upside down, or if you've got some sort of indisparity, this is where the yaw correction is not made, okay? Because it's only pitch and roll, okay? So, yeah, look at that. That's a pretty big difference. I usually do it twice, just make sure it doesn't jump. Now watch this. I'm just gonna intentionally, I'm gonna roll the plane a little bit to just show you what happens. So if I rolled it, look what happens. It changes the roll. Okay, now watch this. Bring that back to level as I can get it. And I'm gonna do it again. See, there you go, okay? So now I'm gonna just go over here and I'm gonna go to next. And in flight mode 3, which is gonna be safe for us, I want safe, active, self-level angle demand. With angle limits of, I don't like angle limits. As far as I'm concerned, there should really be no angle limits unless you're really setting up a beginner plane. So I'm gonna set it to like 80, 80, And remember, this is like pitch and roll angles. As soon as you let go, it's going to try to level the plane, okay? Like, I don't care. You can pull up all the way as far as I'm concerned. But if you let it go too far on your roll, you might actually flip upside down, okay? Then it kind of freaks out a little bit for a second. It can cause weird behavior, okay? Then hit next, and then apply. Now watch, 2 dances. Here's dance number 1. Come on. There's 1. There's 2. That tells you that safe is on, but not necessarily active. It happens to be active because I have the switch down. Okay? So now I'm going to click. I'm going to go back into forward programming, gyro settings, and nose wheel. We don't need to worry about nose wheel on this, but you can separate out and have extra gains for the nose wheel, which is super nice. So in safe settings, I'm just going to go to safe gains. Okay, so 35, off, and off. See that? Nice. And then AS3X settings. And this is where you can turn up your gains as a factor of 1 would all the way, this is all the way up as 1. All the way down is 0, and half is about the middle. I want the middle of that knob to represent where I want to fly, so that when I go between models, it's always about the middle. Plus or minus, it's a little extra windy, you kick it up, a little bit extra gusty, you kick it up. If it's like real calm, you could kick it down and get away with a little bit more, okay? Or a little bit less stabilization, okay? So then, I wanna show you this flight mode setup. So in flight mode 1, I want AS3X active, I want safe inactive, I want panic off, I don't wanna worry about that. And then in this mode, they also have hand launch assist. I could turn that on, but I'm not going to because I would rather have hand launch assist on this mode. So when I do that, if I throw it, it's going to help me by automatically going up a little bit, okay? So now I backed up. Now in this mode, I want AS3X off, okay? In this mode, I want AS3X on. Now it's off. Now AS3X is on and auto leveling is on with angle demand. Now, just to be clear, there are different modes, okay? And I never do flight envelope. I don't think it's necessary. It's not helpful. All that does is just limit your flight envelope. I don't understand why you'd want to do that. That's like the middle mode. I've always thought it was stupid. Just a good way to crash a plane. Okay, so hit next, and then that just tells you your hand launch assist is only going to be active in safe mode, okay? All right, so now walking out. You can also turn on panic, but if you do panic, panic is attached to another channel, so you'd have to if you set this to panic, you'd have to make an assignment for that button. I don't panic, I use safe, okay? The difference between safe and panic is that panic will latch for a period of time irregardless of the switch condition. So if you press a momentary push button, you could set it to back or cancel or whatever, and it would turn on panic for a period of time. And the problem is when you're panicking, let's say I'm flying at this thing and I panic and I'm like flipped over like this and I panic, well, what if it corrects me right into it? Well, it's gonna limit your control authority to even tighter tolerances than what normal safe would be. And then with AS3X, it's off, you have full control. So you're flying, you're upside down or disoriented, you press panic, it corrects you, and then all of a sudden you're going here. I don't wanna limit my control authority. I'd rather just turn on safe if I need help, okay? But truth is, I don't fly with safe. When I started, I flew with safe, and I flew with safe a lot, and it was very nice, and it helped me get in the air. Don't ever let anybody talk down to you because you use safe. Safe is a tool that is very helpful as a beginner, and it's helpful as an experienced pilot because there's times when you're like freaking out. And I remember we flew the B2 in some crazy conditions, and I flew a lot of that flight with safe, and I know how to fly out of safe, but I'll tell you what, man, that thing was locked in. I couldn't believe it. It was nuts. And differential thrust on those twin little 30 millimeter EDFs or 40s, what are they?
Third.
I don't know, they're small.
Yeah.
So all I got to say is there are moments in time where you want to save the plane and give up a little bit of your pride, okay? Don't ever be afraid of doing that. All right, so now that means that we should be good to start doing some testing. So I'm gonna show you there's 2 ways to do testing on your control surfaces. I'm gonna go back into forward programming because I accidentally exited. And gyro settings, AS3X setup. So let's just turn this all the way up. This is like the easy way, okay? So 4 times, I'm gonna turn my knob all the way up, okay? And I may have to give some throttle, so I'm gonna have to pick this plane up and get it off the plane stand. So give me some room here. Throttle cut is off. Okay, so I gave throttle and now it's on, but there was no throttle. You heard it didn't start the motor. That's because I'm in forward programming. So look, rudder, you can't see it, Megan. Rudder. Whatever direction I move it, it's gonna go the same direction and counter it. Now elevator. This thing's so big I can't do the normal technique.
No, I know.
Up, down, you can see it.
I can
super
see it,
plain
yeah.
as day.
Yeah.
Okay, same thing here. You can see fine, right?
Yeah.
Up, down. If you were to split out your ailerons and run them as spoilerons, flaperons, so you could do crow, you need to verify both sides work. I always check both sides anyway, just to make sure I don't have something disconnected. Okay, the easier way to do this is to actually hold the plane with the nose towards you, okay? Rudder. It is very easy to see. Now, real quick, that's with the AS3X on, now off. Nothing, silent. Now safe, same thing for AS3X, except it's gonna find the quickest route to level. That's also where you can tell where level is. Now look at the elevator. The elevator is trying to pull out of a dive. Now that that looks pretty downhill to me. Does that not look downhill to you?
A little bit.
Okay, so that's pulling out of a dive, correcting out of a climb, okay? So now that we know that all the corrections are going in the correct direction, I can go ahead and come out of that. And obviously 4X is way too much, but I also have my knob all the way up. So I'm just gonna do this because it's easy. So now my knob is all the way up. There's 50%, there's all the way down. There's 50%. I'm gonna change this from 4 down to 1, all the way up. Look at the difference. 50%, you can barely see it, but you can definitely hear it. I can see it. I don't know if that's gonna be enough. We'll find out. So the other way to do this, now that we have put it back to 1X, you can go down to system setup, orientation. Where is that?
Utilities.
That's right. Gyro response test. Now it's gonna do it in a way that's less jumpy. See? Definitely the right way. Definitely the right way. Definitely the right way. Definitely the right way. Now look at the aileron. I'm gonna roll it up. It should go up. Definitely the right way. Now look at the other aileron. When I roll this up, it should go up. Definitely the right way. Okay. That is the gyro response test. The reason I don't like that is because even though it works very well for checking the direction of travel, it does not indicate how much the intensity is gonna be. We can test it with a real live test. And I firmly believe that the best way to test something that you are depending on or going to depend on is as close as you can test it to reality, okay? That's just my 2 cents. I test things for a living, for God's sakes. Okay, in case you guys didn't know that. So I set up tests, I figure out how to replicate symptoms. That's what I do. It's a lot of what I do, okay? So it's okay to have a utility that makes it even more obvious for people that need help, but my experience has been I'd rather test it just like I'm gonna fly it so that I know how intense things are gonna be. Because that test mode does not represent any intensity, any gain knobs, any of that stuff, okay? So this plane is set up. It is ready to fly right now. We could go fly it if it weren't for thunderstorms and hours and hours and hours past sunset. And batteries going out. And by the way, full disclosure, we're gonna pause for just a second. Okay, so earlier on, we had the power outage, and since we dragged you into this mess, we're gonna show you. The grid outage started at 8:30, and it's about 10:42, and so we still have the power out, but it's just kind of interesting. I've always thought it was interesting, this whole battery backup, concepts of battery backups versus having like a gen set or something we had, so you could plug in a generator to this house since pretty much, I don't know, like a year into when we moved here. We used to have our old house was set up so we could run on generator too, but we had to go out and start it and plug it in and all that crap. It was a pain in the butt, but we were capable of doing it if we wanted to. But I tell you this, it is so nice having batteries turn this thing on. You don't have to wait a minute for a Generac to start. It doesn't have to prime an engine. It doesn't have to start the engine. You don't have to keep fuel on hand, but it is a little bit more expensive. And I can definitely say I'm super happy with it. Having the lights flicker and then just keeping on living your life is so nice.
And we lose power out here
a lot. Probably 100 times since we moved in, which seems like not a big deal until like you're filming a YouTube channel.
Right. And sometimes it's for like no reason at all.
Yeah.
For like several hours.
Perfect weather. There's, you know, probably a squirrel jumped into a transformer or some stupid thing.
Yeah.
But as with anything else, there's lots of different stuff that you can track. And right here, this green is actually the battery implementing itself, okay? So you can see where it kicked in and it shows a time. And then of course we have an A-power system, so it shows our state of charge. And what happens is the A-power takes the power from the solar, and then it takes power from the grid, and then it also takes power from a generator if we were to feed a generator into it, which we can do that too still. But then it dispenses the power as needed. And when we build our other building, I'm gonna have another system over there that will backfeed to this system so that when this system has snow on it and that doesn't, then they can work together to keep, and then it'll be a 100 amp circuit over on that building, just 240, 100 amp circuit. So it's gonna be some huge cable. It's gonna be very expensive to get the power over there. But it's better than having two power sources from the Mid-American, because then they would charge us as an industrial customer instead of a regular residential, which screws up our solar interconnect agreements and all sorts of other stuff. So if you guys are curious about that stuff, let me know in the comments. We don't talk a ton about it because it is kind of like a personal thing. Obviously, like solar only works if you have good solar exposure, and solar is a long commitment, but we are obviously committed to this property or we'll be spending the kind of money we are. But we found it to be very reliable. We pay $8.50 a month for our electricity, and then we prepaid for electricity, and it was like 67,000 bucks. And then the backup batteries were like 36,000 bucks. So yeah, that's 100 grand. But just to give you an idea, we're in the country. We've spent $57,000 to get power to our house. So why did we do that instead of just going off grid? Well, because off grid is a whole different commitment.
Yeah.
And this system would still put us in risk of not having enough power during snowy days where we have snow on the roof for 2 or 3 days. We found it to be 2 or 3 days is about the worst you lose. And that's like in Iowa, we get pretty big snowstorms. And we might have 10 inches of snow on there. So it's really cool. We just want to share what we know about it because it's like a very ambiguous topic. There's a lot of political overtones and undertones in it. It's just really stupid. Power's power. I want power. I want it cheap. I want it delivered when I need it. And I want it reliable. And the cool thing is we own it. If something goes wrong, we own it. That's the other part that kind of sucks. So, but we are really excited to have it. And getting back to the plane, the only reason I dragged you guys into that is because it happened while we were filming and it was pretty cool. And so that's what we do. We try to be real and genuine here on Brian Phillips RC because at the end of the day, I'm into this stuff. I really enjoy it and I understand it. And I want to help you understand it. And if you guys are brand new to the hobby and you're like, hey, how the heck do I set up this plane? We're going to get you there as easily as possible. And we're going to take some detours here and there that are interesting to Brian, but sometimes they're not interesting to you. So please accept my apologies if that is annoying. But this plane looks like it's going to be pretty awesome. I can't wait to fly it. I love sailplanes. It's one of those things that when I got in this hobby, I had no idea I was going to love.
Yeah.
And I love them. And we have a lot of sailplanes. You don't see them in the living room right now, but we have actually a ton of sailplanes, probably 40 sailplanes. And it's turned out to be one of my favorite things to do. I don't do a lot of thermaling. I fly them like warbirds and fly them like I stole them. But what I really wish we could do, one of the things we did on this property is we wanted rolling hills. We wanted to have a hill that was large enough to generate enough lift to slope soar. And the wind has to be just right to get any lift off of this hill. And it's not quite intense enough. And there's a bug, if you can get it. So it's not quite enough. So bodies of water, large sprawling dams that are like a mile long, wind goes up those things, you could slope soar all day on those things. You could take a battery, you could put in a 1,000 milliamp 4S in this thing, you know, launch it up in the air or just walk up and let it fly out of your hand. You sit there, watch your control surfaces work and fly like this for hours. It is so fun. And I can't explain it to you. If you've never done it, you're like, it seems lame on its face until you do it. And then you'll be hooked. And the last time I flew on a slope that was local, I got kicked off the property and then I got a speeding ticket when I left the property. I was so pissed because the DNR kicked me off, I think, because they said you can't fly here. And then the cop pulled me over, but I got out a speeding ticket because I complained that his buddy just kicked me out. So it was hilarious. Anyway, long story short, looks like an awesome plane. Can't wait to share the flight with you. Obviously, you guys have already seen it. If you're watching this Unbox Build radio setup, thanks for sticking with us through this one. Obviously, the NX10 has been good, but one of the big scrolly wheel issues we've had before, we've had them a lot of times. We have found that I get those after I fly in rain, and then I get a little bit of moisture in there. So if you like to fly in rain, cover that thing up, protect it, and that will improve your chances. Also, you know, when you get to having multiple hundred models in your model memory, that won't make your scrolly wheel wear out. But when you do videos showing how to scroll all the way to the bottom of the list, Spectrum, why is AS3X and Safe all the way at the bottom of the audio vents? It's like one of the most popular things to set up. So also, we didn't talk about one other thing, telemetry. There's one last thing we haven't set, and that's telemetry. And that is pack telemetry, okay? So what I can do is I can scroll down here and I can go into telemetry. And we already have volts, okay? So when I walk out of the menus, scroll over to the right, here's your voltage. Okay, pretty cool, 16.5 volts. Now, we can set up alarms for that, which is really nice. So we can go to telemetry, and you can go into volts. Then you can set alarms here based on what? This 4S pack, okay? I only want a minimum alarm, and I want it to be a voice, and I want it to be every 15 seconds after expiration, meaning every time if it expires, then it's going to update me every 15 seconds. But then we didn't talk about vario. Okay, so vario, I'm going to turn this to switch C. Okay, so I want vario off and then on or on. And this is where I always set it like super low, so it's like really obnoxiously sensitive, so that you guys can lift report and sync report, so you can hear it. And the only reason I do it really sensitive is just so that it's really easy for you guys to tell it's on. Okay, so I'll walk out. Now, one thing to keep in mind about that, I'm going to turn up the volume so you guys can hear.
100.
Okay. So here is, see your altitude. Oh, did I not turn it on? I'm gonna have to turn it on. Sorry, guys. Oh, I have to actually turn the switch on. Okay, so once this walks out of the menu, okay. Here, beeping. There it is. Okay, so there's your screen. Now this is gonna be ultra sensitive, but you hear the beep, 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 boop, 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 boop. Okay, so that's what you're gonna hear. And camera crew is gonna make it so
I'll hold it.
How about this? You just like be ready. Okay. So I'm going up. So it's going to demonstrate change. Now, the reality is for most of us, that would be annoying. If you were thermaling, it's not annoying anymore. Because when you thermal, you want to be able to see the change of your plane's attitude, okay? I can shut it off just like that. And then it's not annoying at all. Now, the other thing too is you might hit back, you can clear this screen, okay? Which is really nice, okay? And then also when you hit back, whoops, from this screen, dang it, where is that? There you go, hit back, not cancel or escape, then you can change your volume back. So the vario is a function that is, you know, I don't do a lot of thermaling. And even though I do some thermaling, I don't do a lot on camera because I feel like it's one of the more boring things to film, because watching a plane go in a circle and search for thermals is maybe not exciting. Now, if you were in a real aircraft and you're watching at work and you could see the little string on the window, and actually doing it in real life would be super cool, but it just doesn't manifest into a very exciting video in our experience.
Yeah.
There are people that do a lot of sailplane videos, and I follow them on Instagram and YouTube, just like you guys do. And I love watching people that are really good at these. It's a real art. It's not just RC general, okay? It's a specialist thing. Just like, people that do a lot of 3D flying are specialists, okay? I do a little bit of it all, okay? But I'm not especially good at any of it. I'm kind of like a generalist, okay? So if you're like me, you might like that feature. But again, I also want the battery voltage. So if you do slope soar or thermal, I can literally have the voltage right there. And I mean, this tells you all sorts of stuff right here, because it shows your vario and shows your altitude too. So if you're trying to be legal, and by the way, if you fly in a FRIA and you want to fly, I know Jay Kujan did a video not too long ago, and he was talking about how they got approved up to 700 feet. Well, some of the FRIA sites are actually to 1,200 feet. So it depends on if you're in Class G airspace, you start with 400 feet, and then you're allowed either 700 or 1,200. And then for special exemptions can be passed for events. So you got to be a DC, I think is what they call you, director or coordinator or something. I forget what that is. But they can get with like the AMA or with the
FTCA.
Thank you. FTCA, whoever your community organization is that you would plan through, you can get special exemptions for that. So like when remote ID came out, it was a big thing. It was very scary for people that want to do a lot of thermaling, because like you want to go up like thousands of feet if you're really doing it excitingly. But the problem is if you're in Class G airspace, it's not a big issue. Well, if all of a sudden you're in Class C airspace or Class Bravo airspace, you're going to be potentially interfering with manned aircraft. So you got to be super careful how you do that so you're legal and safe. But also, if you want to put a remote ID in this is the other thing is, like, we don't talk a lot about this because, like, we're not lawyers. We don't even pretend to be lawyers. We don't really care what the law is as long as you guys do whatever you're going to do. It's like, it's up to you. It's between you and God. I think it's stupid that we're even talking about this. But this is like a $30 thing. And then this one's like a $100 thing. The big advantage to the Sky module is that you can use like a plane location, because you're gonna be able to see like the GPS coordinates on the transmitter. Okay, now that doesn't mean that you're gonna like say like, oh, walk 400 steps and take a left and follow the bike path and you'll see your plane 14 feet in the tree. That's not the way it works.
Right.
But the Ruco is so cheap, and we have that in our supplies, right?
Yeah, both of them.
So bprc.me/supplies, just like the China glue and different things that we've talked about, and screwdrivers and things like that are there too. Remote ID, if you want to be compliant, you can use that, or you can just fly in a FRIA. Okay, a FRIA is an FAA recognized identification area. And then the thing that's nice about that is it kind of lowers the threshold for people that don't want to go through the problems with trying to get like Part 107 and stuff like that, which is considerably more complicated, okay? So that's enough about compliance. We don't talk a lot about compliance here on Brian Phillips RC, because at the end of the day, we just want you to be legal as you need to be to get away with it, okay? Because we think it's ridiculous that we're even talking about legalities with toys, okay? But this is kind of like an adult's toy. It's like a good toy, it's a big toy. But when we're talking about these little helicopters and stuff, it's just ridiculous. 250 grams is just nothing, okay? I understand there's bad actors. There's always people doing bad things with good things, okay? That's just the way it's always gonna be, and the only guy that stops a bad guy is a good guy, okay? So let's be good guys, all right? Beautiful plane, awesome. Avios looks good. I can't believe the improvement we're seeing from Hobby King products, and it's not just because they're working with us, but we happen to be working with them. And I gotta say, Stuart is doing a good job of refining these models, and it's so cool, guys. I was gonna say this earlier, we got interrupted by a thunderstorm, like literally. I was about to talk about this. I remember when I first got in the hobby, I used to watch Stuart on Hobby King all the time. We did a lot of Hobby King stuff when we first got into it because it was cheap, okay? And we did a lot of Dynam stuff because it was cheap, but Dynam was terrible. Anyway, a lot of the Hobby King stuff, I used to call them project planes. This is not a project plane. This thing went together very easy.
Yeah.
It's high quality. It's got good solid foam. It feels great. I haven't flown it yet, but it seems like it's gonna fly just fine. I mean, we've done a lot of sailplanes. You can pretty much tell if they're gonna be okay. Is it gonna be the best thing since sliced bread? I don't know, not yet. We'll tell you that in a flight. But at the end of the day, I remember watching Stuart evaluating these planes, and then I think he left for a while, or he changed positions or roles or something like that, or maybe took like a leave of absence to be with family. So I'm not sure exactly what happened, but then he came back on the scene, and it's just so cool to be working with him now because I was watching him when I was coming into it. Same thing with like Pilot Ryan, Captain
Mike.
Captain Mike. Oh, remember that. So still being friends with these people and being able to talk to them and just know them and grown up into this hobby. I mean, we've been doing it for about 10 years now, but I've been an enthusiast for my whole life. But we only had the YouTube channel for the last 10 years or so. I haven't flown planes until we started the channel, or just very, very shortly. It was like within weeks of when we started the channel. Okay, so we started from zero to hero, whatever we want to call it, what we were on. I don't know if that zero to hero works for us, but where we were to where we are, okay? But it is so cool to have real relationships with these people and seeing the stuff that they're driving this hobby into. It's so much better than it was 10 years ago. I mean, it's night and day better. And 10 years before that, I believe it's a pretty night and day difference. So just think what 10 years from now is gonna look like. So there's never been a better time to get started in a hobby. And I gotta encourage you guys, when I say this, I say it, there's no joking, I'm not trying to make light of anything, I joke a lot. It is hard to fly. It is not cheap to fly. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of skill, and it takes a lot of expertise that you probably don't have when you start. And if you could tolerate the painful transition from not knowing what you're doing to knowing what you're doing, which is not that long, if you're really serious about it, you can do it in 6 months to a year. You'll be a decent pilot. You'll be able to buy whatever plane you want. I mean, not like a jet turbine that's cost $25,000, but you'll be able to get generally any of the retail offerings, okay? We'll help you with that. We'll help get you from where you are now to where you want to be. And then sky's the limit, quite literally. And we say this a lot. We've got people that we've been talking to for that started watching our channel 5-6 years ago, and they're flying turbine jets now, okay? It could be you. I'm not saying that's for everybody, by the way. I'm just saying most people are just gonna be in this retail offering space, and that's a perfect place to be as far as I'm concerned. Because I feel like this is a pretty big investment for most family budgets, okay? And that's, like in our world, that would be true, okay? For you, it might be different. Maybe you got more money, maybe you got less kids. I don't know, it kind of seemed to go together. One versus the other, right? So at the end of the day, we want to encourage you to just start now. Don't go nuts. Don't get the wrong plane to start. That's the biggest thing. Get the wrong plane and fail, you'll quit. Get the right plane, find success, and stick with it. That's what you'll do. And that's what you should do. I got a comment from somebody yesterday, and he said, hey, I've got like 39 EDFs, and I finally decided to go back to the Apprentice. Or what did he get? Yeah, it was an Apprentice 1.2. And I was like, thank goodness you listened, because at the end of the day, that's gonna help that guy get back on the right track, because you don't start with a bunch of EDFs. I'm sorry, you don't. And if you start on EDFs, you're gonna probably fail, okay? It's a lot harder to fly electric ducted fans than it is to fly prop planes. Start with prop planes, start with something simple. And I have a strong appreciation for both. So, I might not be the best one to ask on this, but there are a few EDF planes you could start with. At the end of the day, we want you guys to have the best possibility of success and not necessarily expect you to be the outlier. Okay, that's what we do on Brian Phillips RC. We'll give you good advice, and we'll try to help hold down the cost and hold down the bar of entry as much as possible so that you can find success. We'll help you along the way. That means our videos are long. There's stupid jokes in them. Sometimes we film thunderstorms, okay? We talk about battery backups. But that's just part of it, because if you want the goods, you gotta pay the good giver. I guess in this case, I'd be the good giver. So that means you gotta listen to my stupid stories if you wanna learn a little something from us. But we will take you under our wing, okay? Pun intended. All right, Avios, good job. The Kobuz, or whatever the heck this thing is called, looks amazing. Can't wait to fly it, and it's huge. So, cannot wait to get this in the air. By the way, I don't know if I showed you guys the bottom. It's got a high contrast bottom color. That. We always like a high contrast. Complaints that I can tell you right now, no LEDs. Why? There should be LEDs on this plane. It's a big plane. But I'm gonna tell you this, I don't typically fly sailplanes at night, but I still want LEDs. I don't care. I want LEDs here, and I want LEDs here, and I'd like to have some forward facing and probably a tail light. And that is always gonna be true especially when we start getting into the bigger planes. Does that mean this plane is bad because it doesn't have LEDs? No, but I'm still like kind of a little bit shocked that they don't have it on this particular echelon of aircraft, especially with the spare cable. I don't know why they didn't do that.
Oh, yeah.
Very unusual. Some day brights out here would be awesome, but FMS has an offering. I'm just gonna say this, sorry, because you didn't put them on, Avios. We have these stupid LEDs that have been sitting in my room, sitting here rotting. We got these as a gift from FMS. They send a spinner with like an air freshener in it that I have on my air vent, and it looks like a little silver spinner, and I love it. And it's a little prop that spins in my truck, okay? These little suckers are bright. And you just turn, I've never even charged them. They're probably dead. Oh my goodness.
They're not dead.
I have never turned this light on before. So you turn it on, it changes conditions. Okay, so fade on, fade off. And I'm assuming you can press it, make it just stay on. But either way, so it's got a little integral battery, and then it comes with some double-sided tape and stuff. And then that must be a charger mechanism. So I'm assuming that at some point, some people would be motivated to hardwire these, but these would be a good fit on a plane like this, because look how big they are.
They're huge.
It just happens to be about the right size for a plane like this. My only issue is I don't want stupid flashing. I want them solid. But that would be about the right size for a plane like this. So anyway, I mean, there's a million different LED kits out there. I figured I would like open that up since it's been sitting in our next to my keys for the last three years.
Yeah.
4 years,
because
maybe.
we don't ever keep anything that we might need in the future ever.
I am a bit of a hoarder.
A bit.
Came with some double-sided tape, looks like. And then it came with this little charging cable. So I don't know if, oh yeah. So you can plug it into a 1S pack, or you can plug it into a USB micro to charge them, which is pretty cool. So anyway, that's all. I just was going to show that. We don't show stuff like that ever because we just don't know.
Our videos would never end if you showed everything all the time. It would be.
It's already bad enough as it is.
Yes.
So anyway, yeah, I don't know. FMS had sent that to us as a gift. It was a pretty good gift actually, which is kind of cool. So yes, FMS sends us stuff once in a while as a gift, and so do the other companies that we work with. So like, once this is like Pure Light Power, so we spent like $100,000 with these vehicles.
Got a nice hat.
And then like FMS, I never wear this crap because they don't own us.
You have a Spectrum hat that you
I
wear.
have a Spectrum hat, but I mow the lawn in that because it's a really nice hat actually. But that hat, I wear it and it's like disgusting. It's covered in sweat. It's all gross. Sorry, Spectrum, you'll have to send a new one. So guys, story time with Brian Phillips, a little bit heavy on this video. Thanks for bearing with us. We just want you to know we're genuine people, really do care about this hobby. That's why we spend so much of our family's resources to try to bring you amazing content that's super short and to the point. Anything else I forgot?
No.
All right, good. Stay tuned, guys. Come back for more. There's so much right around that corner. Box is waiting. It's gonna be exciting. Come back for more. Oh, by the way, other ways to support us. You can't buy this because your wife has threatened to leave you. We'll have links to it in the video description below. You buy from the links, you help support Brian Phillips RC. Commissions come to us from the companies. So if they suck, we tell you the truth. And if they're great, we tell you the truth. It is what it is. We have an experience, we share the experience. You get to make up your own mind. I do tend to think this is gonna be a pretty good plane. Also, that thing was awesome. The Catalina has its issues, but it is awesome, okay? Issue number one. We didn't know this at the time. Plastic gear servos, what the heck were you thinking? Awesome plane though. Metal gear servos next time. All of them, please. Or excuse me, there was plastic gear on the, I think it was at one of the elevators.
Yeah.
But the only reason I knew that is because a stupid cat knocked it over. She knocked it over and it was boom, and it broke the elevator. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So I fixed it. Also, the water tends to puddle in a couple of different weird spots, so that's not ideal. But I love that plane. It is so much fun to fly. It is great. It's powerful. It does all the things. The wings are a little bit wiggly, but you know what? I don't fly it aerobatically, even though you could. And it is amazing. So many more like it. Also, we had the Yak. Amazing experience. We did another one. It's been out of stock, so we haven't published a video because we don't like to toy with people. We could have, but it would just piss everybody off because you couldn't buy it.
Can't order it, but it was a good one.
But it's good.
And the Twin Otter, the Avios
Twin Otter, which was better than some other ones. Like if you really get down to it in a lot of different ways. But also the other one was good too. So, but we really like the Avios Twin Otter. It is a great plane. So at the end of the day, Hobby King is stepping up their game seriously. But they still do have a couple of things once in a while that's like makes you scratch your head, like no LEDs on this, but not the end of the world. All right, guys, leave your comments down below. Oh, you don't want to buy this plane? Other ways to support us. Patreon for monthly support. Thanks for being supporters. We have a bunch of you out there. Thank you. It makes a difference. It's a small difference, but it makes a difference, okay? It all adds up. We just need about like 100 more of you. Or 250 more of you.
I was gonna say like.
I was gonna say, what do we got, like 50 or something?
I think we're over 100 between Patreon and YouTube
and
members.
YouTube, yeah, yep. YouTube members, right? Because YouTube members, thanks for being members, and then YouTube super thanks. It always warms our heart when we see somebody give us like $10, $20, something like that. It's awesome. Thank you. It adds up. It makes a difference. You should see the bills we're getting for that building. It's a lot.
Yeah, you bought like several rocks.
I just made a 6-figure payment on Monday for that building. Okay, 6 figures, and that's a payment. Okay, then also, yeah, and all we have is a foundation so far, yeah. Which is pretty painful.
A hole in the ground.
So yeah, wait till they start building it. Then we have PO Box. Is that the other one?
Was it? PayPal.
PayPal. If you don't want to be part of the groups, and then we have a PO Box. If you want to send us something, hit us up on an email first so we know, because you can't send big stuff to the PO Box. They get pissed off. If that happens, they might return it to sender. So hit us up. We'll figure out the details if you need to. Other than that, guys, we just appreciate you being here. Don't forget to smash the like button. Click the bell for notifications when you do subscribe, because you'll want to subscribe, especially if you're brand new to the hobby or return to the hobby. That's the 2 areas we specialize in. We want to help return customers, return people that are coming back after, you know, maybe a 15-year hiatus, 10-year hiatus where kids were growing up, whatever it is, and moved, didn't have access to a flight field. There's a million different good reasons, health reasons. Maybe you had a wife that didn't like it and you've lost a wife and now you're able to do the things you really love. I mean, things like this happen all the time, guys. We're here to help you, support you in your drive to succeed in RC, okay? It doesn't have to always be aircraft, but that's predominantly what we do. Fixed wing and a little bit of helicopters, and then VTOLs and stuff like that, quads once in a while. But we love this stuff. We're gonna help you get in the air. All right, stay tuned. Thanks for watching.